What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
This might be working. I'm not entirely sure if it is or not. It's been... Oh dear. You don't even want to know about it. Right. Is this working? Can you hear me? Let's hear from some of you guys in the chat. Sorry about the delay. Yes, you can hear me.
It looks alright.
Thank you, baby Jesus. Oh dear. It is a catastrophe. Good to go, Mike. Also, it works and in sync, says Skystalker. No, can't hear you, says Deathstroke. Deathstroke's winding me up, I can tell. Pardon. All good. Is the volume level okay? It looks like it's probably okay. Where's your mics? Stream mic, so testing. Yeah, that's just about peaking. That'll do. It says it's frozen. You might have to refresh things. So, more like zombie jeepers now. Exactly. Right, let's see if the various things work as they should do. It might not. So this is the main camera. We'll go to overhead, which should be okay. Might be a little bit on the bright side. Actually, it does look a bit bright. What have I done with that? Well, anyway. You can see that. Hopefully you can still all hear me. If you can hear me on the overhead, just type in all good overhead. I've gone quiet now, so that's okay. There's a distinct lag between the the chat and what I'm doing, unfortunately. It never used to be that bad, but hopefully it's okay. Perfect. All good overhead. Thank you very much. And if we go to the desktop, I'm probably going to show the wrong desktop altogether. That's fine, as long as you can still hear me. Is the desktop A-OK? Can you still hear me? You can just see my OBS screen, so don't worry about that. All good overhead, excellent stuff. Lucky Man says, all good, give head. Not exactly what I was meaning, but yes, anyway. Right, let's go back to the main camera. And right, okay, I should say first of all, good evening, and thank you all for bearing with me. I do apologise so much. This is one of those days where we were pretty much well ahead for the stream, and everything was set up and running, and it was like, oh, this is cool. I did all my sound checks, mic checks, etc., and everything appeared to be working. Then the PC, I've had to do a fresh install on the PC due to my own stupidity, following along with daft videos that you see on the internet to remove certain features of Windows, and it just basically didn't work very well, and essentially bricked the computer so I could no longer log into my own computer, which is, yeah, never a good look. So I figured, well, because I've changed the motherboard, I've changed the processor, I've done some other bits and pieces, so I'll just wipe it, do a fresh install, start it over, and been slowly kind of rebuilding things. And then I got to the point where I'm just about to start streaming. It's like, oh shit, I haven't installed the Stream Deck software, so I had to do that. Then the Stream Deck, I plugged it in, it wouldn't work, and it's like, oh god, it needs rebooting. I can't reboot it, so I'll have to redo all my settings. So I was about to click on go, and then as soon as I click go, I've forgotten I hadn't actually installed the latest NVIDIA drivers on the machine. I was using some slightly older ones, and OBS can be a real dick when it comes to things like that. So if you haven't got exactly the right version of your NVIDIA driver for OBS, it throws up all kinds of errors and basically was bad. So I had to reboot again. As you well know, I am on an AM5 system now, and it is an MSI motherboard. So it basically takes at least a minute to reboot, which a minute when you're rebooting, when you're in a hurry, and you're waiting and you've got a stream waiting to go, it seems like a lot longer. I'll be honest with you, it seems like a lot longer. Anyway.
Why don't you say hello first before I change?
Yes. Let's, before the PC crashes or something else goes wrong, let's say hello to you lovely people in the chat. If I can actually see the chat, I think some of it might be missing now because I had to reboot. It does a weird thing with the Creator Studio, so if you reboot you basically lose everything. So there was a super chat from Mick Woods, I believe it was, for £10. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mick, for that. You can see at the top of the chat, actually, if you go right to the top, there's a pin section for one of the cases, actually, which we'll be looking at today, which is from Ionz, which for some of you outside of the US, outside of the UK, those of you in the US, you might not have heard of Ionz. They're not a global company, but you'll probably find there is a very, very similar version of it elsewhere. That seems to be the case with a lot of these things, especially things like Ionz, GameMax, InWin, Antec, all that kind of stuff. They are all very similar, or they've got other brands which are named the same elsewhere. So if you do want to kind of check it out, then obviously you can do.
Poppy.
Poppy, no, dude. Oh, seriously? Sorry. Can't take her anywhere. Oh, there she goes. That's it. She's come onto the camera, interrupted things, licked her butt, and then decided to Foxtrot Oscar. Lovely. Yes, so as I was saying, these cases, although you may not be able to pick them up specifically from the Ionz gaming brand, those of you in the UK and Europe, I believe, you should be able to get them via either pcgamingcases.co.uk or from ebay.co.uk. They may well ship elsewhere outside. That's something you'd have to find out on eBay. It's basically, there's a company, PC Gaming Cases, KZ, Ionz, they're all kind of same brand, basically based in Scotland here in the United Kingdom. So yeah, if you want to help support the local businesses, if you're in Scotland, then feel free to get yourself an Ionz case. They've been really good to us, and Steve over there, if I ever ask for any cases, if they've got them, they'll send them over to review. They don't ask me to say anything whatsoever. In fact, they don't even ask me to put links in the videos. They just say, there's some cases, do what you like with them, have fun. So we generally do. So that is the emphasis of tonight's stream. So let's say hello. So we've got Aletta with us in the stream. How you doing, Aletta? Over in the US of A, which is currently undergoing, I think in some areas they've got some pretty heavy snow. I think it's something like -2 degrees in the Ohio area, so pretty chilly. Paul Baker was with us. How you doing? Hopefully that's coming up on the screen as well. Yes, it is. Excellent. That is something is working. Stuart Cleary is with us. Just got back from picking up the daughter. Happy days. David Underhill over in Australia. I'll remember a lot of these things. Over in down there underneath, or we're underneath, whichever way you look at it. Matthew Day's with us. Is are we late or am I broken? It's a bit of both. I am broken, definitely. Bandy's with us. How you doing, Bandy? Let's kind of have a little run through here. William Bodie, our man in Deutschland. How you doing? Aletta says, I've never used OBS, never had reason to, so I know nothing about it. That's probably the best way. It's horrendous. Nick Barnes is with us. How you doing? Says, oh no, the only AMD update for 3 months and broken. Oh no, this isn't AMD on this one, this is NVIDIA. AMD's on that one. That's actually running quite well, the AMD system now. The AMD Intel system over there, I should say. Alessa says, anyone have any cool tech news to report? I've actually got some interesting, well, not interesting, but it was, I had to make, a couple of times this week I've had to make moral decisions, which sometimes moral decisions are those ones that bite you in the ass, and you know you're going to regret it, but I've made 2 moral decisions this week, both of which I think have actually been a good thing to have done. The first one was our good friends over at Zotac Gaming actually offered us a RTX 4070 Ti for reviewing and said I could keep it for a few weeks and see what I want to do with it. And I did deliberate over this one for quite a while. And I got to the point where I'm thinking 4070 Ti, this particular one is the Aereo version. It's quite a high-end version. So at the moment here in the UK, you can buy it for somewhere in the region of about £900. Which is a phenomenal amount of money for a graphics card. It really is. And as much as I do like the Zotac brand, and I do like to see nice flashy graphics cards, I've actually turned it down. So I replied to them very politely and saying I don't think this is right for me personally, and I don't think it's right for our audience, because I don't think there's that many people watching our videos that will happily slap down £900 on a graphics card at this particular point in the economic climate. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, but for me it felt like the right decision to do, and they were actually fine about it when they replied back and said, that's very good of you to be so honest and upfront. We'll pass this on to NVIDIA, etc., and let them know what the feelings are. So yeah, I think I did the right thing. I think that nearly £1,000 for a graphics card is obscene. No one really needs it. If you're doing video editing or you using some kind of acceleration in a particular work application that makes your day go faster or makes you be able to produce content or whatever faster, I guess then there is a reason for it. But being the fact that it's classed as a gaming card, nobody needs $1,000 or £1,000 graphics card, do they? Really? Maybe they do. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be interested to see what you think about that one. The second part of my moral decision was I actually sold a PC this week. So the 11400 Intel based system, that's gone this week. I bought a GTX 1660 from CEX here in the UK, which is basically like kind of like a second-hand store, or they sell on refurbished products, etc. So you can sell things to them and they sell other things back, etc. And the GTX 1660, I've been using it during the week for some testing and making some video content actually on the system I was building. And come to the point where Kath didn't want it. It was supposed to be for her really, but she don't like change, so it had to go, running out of space here, etc. So put it onto Facebook Marketplace, and literally within, I think it was an hour, maybe 2 hours, there were offers on the table, and a local person said, look, I'll collect it Friday, 4 o'clock. Okay, fine, no worries. Turned up, job done. Unfortunately, whilst I was doing my testing, because I use a HDMI capture card, I failed to use the DisplayPort. Now the card performed absolutely brilliantly, so I had no reason to suspect anything otherwise, but generally if I am selling a PC, I'll set it up in a room adjacent so people can come in, have a look at the PC, make sure it's all working before they part with their cash, which I think is a sensible thing to do, so everybody's happy. The monitor in there has a DisplayPort connection, and it actually is the monitor that the Welly Bob kindly sent over to us, and that is what I use for testing because it shows off the system. It's a nice widescreen 4K type thing, so yeah, it looks great, and it's good for showing off graphics. So plugged it in and didn't get a display output, and I was like, this is not good. And basically, if I wiggled the cable, the display would come on. So at this point, it's like, right, HDMI works fine, DisplayPort's got an issue with it. What do I do? They're due here in about half an hour. So I messaged them and said, look, this is the exact honest truth. If you want it as it is, it's fine. You will need to make sure the cable's in the right position, or wiggle the cable, or your cables may be fine, but mine certainly was a little bit loose. I can swap the card out for something else, and I'll give you £50 off, for maybe put in a 1650 Super, which we picked up, so a bit of a trade-off from the 1660. Or I can send the card back to CEX on your behalf after you've had it, if you need it, whatever. So if they come back and basically come around and have a look, seen it working, wiggled the cable, seen it for themselves, and basically took it as it was. So my moral decision to actually let them know, rather than actually just winging it and hoping they wouldn't use DisplayPort, actually worked in our favour. And also, the guy who picked it up for his kid, he's actually an electrician, and we need an electrician to get some power and some lights up into our loft for storing all this crap. So yeah, it's been a win-win situation. So yeah, I was glad I was up front about it, otherwise I wouldn't have slept at night. I hate that feeling of waiting for the phone to go where someone complains about something because you haven't told them. I try not to do it if I can possibly help it. I may accidentally forget something once or twice, but generally I like to be as upfront as possible so people know exactly where they stand, and then it's their decision if you want to go down with it. I was quite happy for him to walk away and not buy it, or swap out a graphics card, whichever needed to be done. But it turned out okay, and the PC is sold, so excellent stuff. So let's say hello to some more of you. Rick H is with us, good old Rick H. Rick H sent us a AM5 retention brackets module thing. Actually, I'll grab it. I don't have to worry about cables because I've got my wireless mic on. I don't have to trip over stuff. So this is awesome.
As he falls off his chair sitting down.
Yeah, I nearly fell off my chair when I sat down earlier, so I was trying not to do that. So you've probably seen these before. This was the secure frame, the LGA 1700 one, but they now do one for AM5 as well, because AM5 is also LGA and bends like a bastard. So this is going to be something that you probably will need to possibly think of when you're buying your systems now, is to add in a little bit of extra cost for one of these. So this is the AM5 module. Let's put it on the overhead so you can see that, if I can remember which key it is, that one there. You should be able to see that. Can you see that? Let's get rid of the chat a minute there. So that is the AM5 retention socket module thing. So no doubt I can install that and then get loads of people chastising me in the comments saying, you've tightened it up too tight. No, these are supposed to go to hit the hard wall. I've had this argument many times, but this is going to be good because it's going to stop thermal paste seeping down into the bits on the side as well. So definitely worth checking out. I will be installing that at some point next week when I get time to either take a piss or take a crap, or to actually breathe. I don't know, pluck my nose hairs, I'm not sure. But yeah, massive shout out to Rick H for those. And actually, while I'm doing shout outs as well, we did have a motherboard arrive. Now, I'm going to be completely honest now, I am forgetting who it was who sent this. It was somebody in the United Kingdom. And it was the one, this is a B550M Pro VDH Wi-Fi. And it appears to be okay. The only thing is, the USB header is absolutely obliterated. There's pins bent, there's pins missing. It looks like it's gone a couple of rounds with Mike Tyson in there. So, yeah, I'm not too sure what we're going to do with that, whether we're going to attempt to resolder those pins on there or not. Depends if it makes it unstable, then I might do that. It does have a USB Type-C port on there, so in terms of connectivity, it might be okay, but we will see. But anyway, massive shout out and thank you to whoever sent it, and I can't remember who it was. I'm so sorry. My brain has just gone. Huh? I do, but I don't have my emails on the PC, and I've just turned my computer off. Kath will have a look now. I want to say it was Chris. But there's been so many discussions about broken motherboards and stuff.
Actually in the inbox.
I don't know if it is actually. It might be in... I don't even know if it's in sent items, to be honest with you. I honestly don't know. But anyway, so we'll be having a play with that, making sure it's all tickety-boo. Yeah, it's been one of those weeks. What else is there? Something else has been sent in this week, and I can't think for the life of me what it was. This week has been a real blur. Let me try and think. What else have we had? So we had the Ionz cases. They came last week, actually, the Ionz cases. There's missing one still from DPD. DPD have lost it, the bastards. I'm looking around quickly to see what else we've had sent in this week.
I can't find it because it doesn't show me what you sent.
I think, oh, actually, I did purchase something. Actually, I purchased two things. I was supposed to, remember, in last week's stream, I was supposed to get a black cooler for that PC build. This turned up a few hours after I sold the PC. So it's still got the white one in there, so at least I've got a spare now, so that's going to work. But managed to pick this up from a local Bristolian on Facebook Marketplace. This is the GeForce GTX Ventus X SoC edition, 1650 Super. There's a lot of digits in there. Picked this up for £90, which it was kind of either this or go with AliExpress for one of those RX 580s. I think this is going to be a little bit faster anyway. I think when I benchmark this, it gets round about 3,300 points in Unigine Heaven. Vaguely remember that. So it's kind of almost a 1660. Not quite, but very close. And it's MSI. So what could possibly go wrong? So that might even go well with that, actually, with the B450M Pro. And possibly that cooler. There we go, we've almost got a system built. Happy days.
James Miscellaneous' birthday.
James Miscellaneous' birthday. Happy birthday, sir. You are possibly now, what, 27? 28? He's not. I'm just being kind. Right, who else was there? So,
Yesterday, sorry.
Yesterday, oh. Happy birthday for yesterday. Who else have we got? David, we've said. Stuart Clear is with us. Nick Barnes, we've said already. Mick Woods, we have Ignition. Sorry, I'm catching up with this. Skystalker, good old Skystalker from the good old United States of Canada. How you doing, sir? And Tina, bless you, and the rest of the family.
Charlie, the kitten.
And Charlie the kitten. Mouse888 says, good evening to you both. How you doing, Mouse? Not seen you before, but welcome to the channel.
Mouse has been there before.
I've not seen Mouse before. Or have I not seen that before? Rick H says, Houston, we are a go. Excellent stuff. Steve Larkins with us. How you doing, Steve? William Bodie says, where is Sire Ugly Bob? Do you know what? Ugly Bob has been almost non-existent on the Discord. I'm not sure whether he's visiting family or whether he's deep undercover like Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. He might be deep undercover. If he is, good luck to you, Bob. Do it for king and country. Just do it for the country. James Miscellaneous for that. Glenn's with us. Evening troops. How you doing, Glenn? Stuart Cleary, Aletta. I think I've said pretty much everyone. Mark Berry. My PC is buffering now. It's probably just the stream. Don't worry about it. Who else we got? Sorry. Kev says Mike's lost his wig again. If I had hair, I would have pulled it out today, possibly. Just big clumps of it, you know, like proper handfuls, like insanity clumps. Chris Hartford's with us. How you doing, Chris? Good to see you. Roderick Kennedy. How you doing, Roderick? I think I'm catching up here. Yate Computing says, I'm sure Diamond has decent internet. It does. Well, actually, it has been weird. George did actually ask me to reset the system just before we started the stream as well. Because, yeah, hashtag blame George. He was having problems with hitboxes on Fistful of Frags.
Seconds before the stream.
So, yeah, blame him. Oh, James Miscellaneous, BRB, my son brought me a birthday present. Oh, more than I get from our son. He's bloody useless. Lazy lump of shite.
What do you mean?
He's not watching. I can say what I like.
Cyberclue, did Mike ever suss out that LGA 1700 contact frame heat issue?
I haven't. No, the contact frame is still in the works. I'm actually. Yeah, it will be done. It will. I will work it out.
And it's Aaron Patterson's first time here.
Aaron Patterson, God bless you. Welcome to the our little family. Our little techie family. Yaha says, oh nice, it's the one I posted on Hot UK Deals. Excellent stuff, and welcome to the channel. Lucky Man's with us. I've said that already, I think. I'm looking for something from Loner. I have deliberately set it so the chat is accessible by anybody and everybody. You don't need to be a subscriber or member or anything. And you can still chat in the chat box. But actually saying that, no, Loner won't be able to, will he? Because you still need to log into YouTube to type, don't you? Comments. You can't do comments as a just a run. Nah. So that's not going to work anyway. So pointless me doing that. Hello. Ultimate Tech Hub is with us. Good old Mike over there in Las Vegas. I always forget if that is it. Las Vegas. It is Las Vegas, isn't it? Is it in Las Vegas?
I think so. It's another name.
LA?
Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah, in the Nevadas.
19 Nevada.
Where are we? Right, crazy graphics. Yeah, we hear you. So that's all working. Neuron Killer, how you doing? Yate Computing says that's what Macrium is for. Yes, actually, yeah. I do actually have Synology Active Backup for Business running on there, so I could have just redone the image on it, but I stupidly wanted to. Basically start afresh. Anyway, moving on. Cyberclue, did Mike ever suss out this? Yes, that is a work in progress, definitely. Aaron Peterson, first time here. Fist time here, in fact, is the words. Fisting in Mike's unboxing. Well done. Matthew Day says, I wonder if there's any difference between a remote reset of a shub or super hub and pulling the power plug. I think a remote reset might do more because it kind of forces a reset rather than just unplugging it where it might pick up the same settings again. William Bodie, Las Vegas. Yes, thank you. The land of shrinking Lake Mead. Deathstroke says, found Ionz contact info. Yeah, they're easily contactable. I think it's like number 3 something Bush Road, Scotland. There's probably a little bit more to it, but it's quite easy to find. So you can actually phone them as well and ask them questions and stuff, which is really cool.
They're quite responsive on Facebook, aren't they?
Yeah, on Facebook and or eBay. So they've got a store on eBay, and if you send them a message, obviously they'll get back to you pretty quickly. Dennis says, Mike, when are you going to do a bars flash update on the MSI Mag B660M mortar DDR4 to support 13th gen chipsets? I don't have that board. Unfortunately, I do not have that board on hand, so I am actually unable to do that. What I can do, I'll speak to our contact at MSI and see if they've got one available for loan, which we can borrow. And if I can do that, I will endeavour to do it. It'd be interesting to see if actually if the 13500 will work on there, because the Asus sure as hell doing. And that the Asus thing is still going on with the C0 steppings not working on that board I had. They seem to be ghosting me and also Kieran at the moment when we're trying to reach out to CCL. So yeah, I don't know. It seems that they've sent the board on now to Asus because they had it back and tested it and basically said, no, it's absolutely fine, works with all our processors. So something somewhere is not quite right. I don't know what's going on. You guys saw the grief I was going through. It wasn't like I was doing anything out of the ordinary, and the processor worked on another board. So I don't know. I don't know. Right, so let's get on and take a look at some of these cases, because it'll be midnight before I start otherwise. So the first one is going to be the Ionz KZ29 Kiru. They always have these funny little names. I don't know where they get it from, but thank you, Mark Berry. Oh shit, I pressed on hide. And someone else showed. Someone else who's intelligent pressed the right thing. Yeah, pcgamingcases. I don't know what I'm looking at. There's not a camera there. pcgamingcases.co.uk, and it's got to be cases. Actually a very cool company, and they don't just do Ionz. They do CIT, Ionz, GameMax, BitPhoenix, Corsair, Lian Li, Fractal. I'm sure I'm missing out some names here, but basically if you need a PC case, there's a strong chance they've got it. And they actually got some pretty decent pricing. And also if you go to the eBay store, there's a little bit cheaper there as well sometimes. So worth checking out for sure. O'Reilly says, I don't mind a midnight stream. It is after Watershed, so Mike can be even more honest. I'm not sure about that. Montec cases, not sure. They might do Montec. Not sure. Shearer69 says, I got a good deal for a NZXT H7 Airflow, 85 quid. Decided to put my i9 13th gen in it with a long runner 7-inch screen. Very cool. Very nice. You have to send some pictures over to the Discord when you do it. Matthew Day says, I love the CIT case section.
Ionz, SIT, GameMax, NZXT, Corsair, Fractal, Fantex, Lian Li, Be Quiet, Antex, SanDisk.
So basically all of the brands.
Brazen offers.
Yeah, all of the kind of the more popular brands. But yeah, they are a proper distributor of cases. Yeah, was Montec on there?
No.
No, not Montec.
I didn't see that.
Ordinary Dude, how you doing? Says, hi Mike and Kath, checking in before heading out to work. Bless you, sir. David Underhill says, it's 7:05 AM here in sunny Queensland. Mother of God. That is, that's early.
But nice to be sunny.
Yeah, nice to be sunny. I'll imagine if it's sunny, actually, you're more tempted to wake up in the morning and actually get up and do shit. Whereas here in the UK, it's like grey.
It's like fog in the sky.
It's like foggy, chemtrail, shit sky. And you open the curtains and it's like... Ugh.
And then if you get a sunny sky, they soon merge into fog.
Right, kitty cats, I've got to move your asses because I need that box. Actually, I'm going to go into I'm going to go into the hallway. You can hear now because it's really echoey in here. Where's Daisy gone? Oh yeah. Daisy. Right. Come here, Ionz cases. Although actually,
Daisy's bed.
Yeah, this is Daisy's bed. I'm going to do this one first. This is the mid-range case. So this is the Ionz Pro Gamer KZ02 Airflow series in Airflow Black. This is actually available in a plethora of colours and options. Plethora, big word, like it. Not sure what it means, but I do. I'm only joking. Mike did a Mr. Bean face. Did I? Oh dear.
Kush Pop says, I recently picked up a 980 Ti for £50 off Marketplace to put in a budget rig with an i3 10100F.
Where's that? I can't see down there.
It's not far from the bottom. Kush Pop.
Oh yeah, got you, yeah. 980 Ti 50 piece. That's bloody good. 980 Ti for 50 quid, you can't get wrong for that. Right, so Airflow Black. Actually, you might be able to see there. Yeah, I told you it was number 3. So Ionz are based at Unit 3, Butte House. I was kind of almost close. Aaron Road, Perth, Scotland. PH1 3DZ. And if you look up the business address, PH1 3DZ, you basically got Ionz, KZ, PC Gaming Cases, and a couple of other companies all registered at that address, because basically it's all the same people. So they're just basically just branching out into different territories to do things. So obviously they've got their eBay business, they've got their retail business on the website, and also they've got an Amazon shop as well. So you can get hold of them pretty much. It's not like this some kind of, it's just a random company. They are in a lot of places. So yeah, it's all good. And obviously shopping around, you might get better prices. So I would suggest, if you're looking at any of the Ionz cases, specifically the Ionz ones, maybe not so much the other brands that they keep, but Ionz especially, because they are the sole distributor in the UK, do check around the 3 places. So their website, their eBay shop, and then Amazon, and see which one is the best price, so you can get obviously better prices for yourselves. Weight wise, not very heavy, 4 kilos. And on the other side, goes through some of the specifications. I'll put it on there so you can see it. It's an ATX case, space on the front for 3 120mm fans, or it says 3 140mm fans, which I potentially disagree with. So we're going to try that and see if 3 140s do physically fit. I don't think they will, but there's a lot of things I think which are wrong. Anyway, let's get this out and have a look. If there's any dust or debris that comes off, that isn't from them, that is from me and the cats. My brain cells all falling out my ear holes.
What's happening to your bed, Daisy?
Daisy, what's happening to your bed? Oh my god. So we are currently just over 100 viewers. Thank you all for joining in on this Saturday evening. I'm guessing you're bored or whatever, but thank you anyway for joining us.
Ordinary juice there, you see some of those on Newegg in the US.
What's that?
You see some of those on Newegg in the US.
Oh right, excellent. So Newegg are doing them in the... Excellent for Newegg.
Excellent.
That's quite good for me. Watch out for the reflecto porn of young Catherine. If you can see her, wave. She'll wave back, honestly.
You can see claw marks on top of the butt.
You probably can. Right, so quick spin round. So you've got obviously airflow front. You can see the 3 fans behind there. I really like the design of this. You've got a really nice kind of, I'm not going to say it's a rip-off because it's not, but it's very, very similar to the look of the Corsair 4000D. D is the airflow, isn't it? Yeah. So it's very similar to that, obviously considerably cheaper. So this, I believe, is kind of designed to be a 4000D competitor, but considerably cheaper. So this is about £40, £45 here in the UK, whereas the 4000D, you're looking at somewhere between 80 or more, depending on where you're shopping. Thank you very much, Ugly Bob. He is travelling. Ugly Bob's coming with a £20 super chat there. Says, sorry I can't be there. I'm travelling, back in a couple of months. Stay safe, you filthy animals. Poppy even says, hello Bob. That's roughly translated from cat into miss you Bob, see you soon. Or
I thought she'd like the fishy lights, but she didn't.
good on you Bob. Enjoy yourself. Have I cleared that?
Was it?
Let's clear that off there. Thank you. Is that better? There we go. Awesome stuff. So yeah, nice little case design. It's pretty slick. I do like the side panel. So you've got the opening panel. This bit here is basically surplus to any requirements in life at all. I've taken that off and I refuse to put it back on. But hinged glass goes pretty much all the way around. So if you want it out of the way when you're building in your case, it's not going to hinder you. And it's got a really nice little, oh, that just clears the cup. It's got a little tab on the side, little material tab, and you've got some magnets on there. So just magnetizes itself on. And they've managed to do something which, again, a lot of other companies really, really struggle with. And that is to make the door actually shut by itself. So there you go, just magnetic, and it just slams itself shut. Obviously it's got a protective coating on there that I normally would take off at some point, but I leave it on when I'm doing stuff just so I don't keep on getting my greasy stubby handprints all off the damn thing.
Lou is looking for a new case. Looking forward to seeing this one.
Cool. Louis, this might be right up your street. King Louis, sorry, I do apologise. Your Royal Highness. On the back, usual sort of deal. Now this is where you start seeing the kind of the cheaper aspects of this kind of case, which is inevitable. But realistically, unless you're a real sad bastard, how many of you actually look at the back of your case all day long? I don't think there's going to be many of you. It's unlikely. More than likely, this is going to be covered in dust and hidden out of the way, never to be seen again, because it's going to be tucked away at the back of your desk, or you might just see a little bit of light spilling out the back. Realistically, you're never going to see it, so don't worry about it. The IO shields, or IO covers there, all fold out ones, which is not great. I'm not overly happy about that, but it's a cheap case, so bear that in mind. You got your little moving plate on the back. Again, it's kind of tried and tested. It does what it's supposed to do. It does actually support things quite well, so that's awesome. Place for a power supply on the bottom. Everything there is nicely trimmed off, no cut fingers or anything, so can't go too far wrong with that. There's a super chat from young Mr. Aitken. Mr. Aitken says, good evening, people. How you doing, Dave? Dave actually did the intro graphic for... Actually, let me show you. Where is it? I'm not sure if I got it on here. Let me see if it's on here.
What we do here is go back.
There you go. You can't hear me when I'm in that mode. I've set my buttons up all wrong on the Stream Deck. But I've been meaning to do it for ages to actually sort out that graphic, because I used to have Photoshop, but because I'm a skinflint, I stopped hiring or renting Photoshop. So now I'm just down to Premiere. So I've got no real way of using any art package. I really should learn to use GIMP. That is probably the way forward, but I'm lazy. And I kind of like the way that Photoshop works, so. I asked Dave if he would mind taking the green bits out of there, because I did have a green version that I could chroma key. Anyway, thank you, Dave, is what I'm trying to say. Back to the case. So, what should we look at next? Let's look on the side. Get that done. The side is a little bit cramped, if I'm entirely honest. You've got about 20 millimeters of room to manage your cables. The side panel's a little bit flimsy, but again, how often do you look at your side panel? It's not very often. They're not captive screws. They do come off, which I don't care about really. You get a little instruction manual. Happy days. When it comes to the front I/O, you've got all your usual kind of stuff here. So there is a single USB type 3, or USB 3 even, if I could say it. So single cable, obviously, just going to be one port. For most people, that's going to be fine. You've got your HD audio, a little bit of ketchup and mustard going on the cabling, but yeah, it's not the end of the world. I've seen considerably worse. 2 USB 2.0 ports on the front, so that actually, I do like to have a couple of USB ports on the front, the standard ones, just for things like keyboard and mouse dongles, or maybe plugging in a headset, game pads. There's a lot of game pads still which don't like USB 3. I don't know why it is. Some of the Microsoft type controllers I find don't work very well with USB 3. So actually having some older ports on the front, if you're someone who plays games on gamepads, then you may find that preferable anyway, rather than having to fish one round to the back of the case. Front panel is also wired up to this section here. So the biggest downside of this case, bizarrely, is the fans. The fans they include are 120mm addressable RGB, but they're SATA powered, which is okay, but there's no PWM control and there's no real lighting control other than pressing the button on the top. So there's a built-in kind of a controller with the fans. For me personally, now I've seen the prices of these. You can actually buy these cases with and without fans, and there's obviously also choices as well. So if you do want maybe more fans, there's options on a lot of Ionz cases. So you can choose with fans, without fans. You can also choose a glass front version of this, which I would probably avoid like the plague. Also, there's a white version as well. So if you do want a white version like this, which I think looks very slick, that is the one that is missing, I think, from our shipment. We were supposed to have 4 cases. This one in mesh black and also mesh white, or no, glass white, I think it was. Anyway, it didn't show up, so we don't have to tell you about it too much. But it is what it is. The fans have a fixed RPM as well, which I think is a bad idea. Now I'm going to fire this up so you can see how loud it is and see what the lights look like and see how pretty it is, etc, etc. Don't get too excited, but I want your honest opinion, because you can hear things. I don't know if I'm quiet now. You can hear, bang. You can hear noises that are made. So hopefully you'll get a good idea of how loud these fans are and whether or not it's something which for you is a complete deal breaker, or whether or not you're kind of a headphones on kind of guy or girl and you couldn't give a toss what the fans sound like as long as they're not completely deafening. So let's do that.
While you're setting that up, can you answer Antonio?
Antonio.
How would you feel if someone had a 700 and now decided to add GPU 4090 GPU?
I would feel very uncomfortable. That actually makes me feel uncomfortable. Putting a 4090 GPU with a 5700G is not a great idea. You are going to be leaving a lot of performance on the table, because you're essentially putting a PCI Express Gen 3 processor with a Gen 4 card. If you're spending the money on a 4090, do yourself a favor, sell the 5700G and buy a 5800X. You'll probably pay about the same, but you will get considerably better performance. You will still get good performance out of the system with a 4090, don't get me wrong, but there's going to be some points where your processor just will not be able to send enough information to that graphics card, and your graphics card is going to be there going like, okay, come on, can you send me some data please? And yeah, it's just, please don't. If you've got the money for a 4090, you're going to have the money to swap out that 5700G. Hell, sell it to me. I'll buy it off you. I could do with one. Anything to stop you doing that. I would rather you see you use a 5600 than a 5700G.
Do you need another tea?
No, I need something palatable to wash that 5700G in my mouth. Ugh. I'm joking with you. 5700G is a cool processor, but it's totally mismatched with a 4090. Did you say 4090? I'm going to read that again, because I can't believe that someone would do that.
It was a laughing emoticon.
Antonio, no, they are. There's laughter. I don't know. Where's my adapter? There we go. Oh, where's my adapter? Oh, there's me stretching out looking for my adapter, and it's actually on the power supply already. So for those who don't know, I quite often do this. You get a power supply. If you want to fire up all the RGB and you don't want to fire up a motherboard, what you can do is just put a little jumper block over the end of your power supply, and it basically tricks the power supply to being on. If you've got one which has got all the rainbow puke on it, all this ketchup and mustard going on, all you need to do, if you bridge the connection between the green wire and any of the black wires, that basically is your 5-volt trigger to trigger the power supply to turn on. So you can put a paper clip in if you want to. Anyway, I digress. Wow. I shouldn't say I digress, because that makes me sound like Jay's 2 cents. Although, we can both say it. I think the world and the internet is a big enough place where we can both say it. Kath's not in the room for me to say bang. There's a... She's telephoned in the room. There's a €20 super chat from Stuart Cleary. God bless you, sir. It says, as a cheap PC case, it's good, it looks great. What's the airflow like? The airflow is amazing. It genuinely is, because you've got this really kind of open mesh on the front, even though the fans, to be honest with you, do suck. But they do actually produce a lot of air. And with my hand, well, I'm not sure if you can see that.
The lights as well?
Even without this back panel on, there's enough positive pressure that I can feel it about here. So it is putting out a reasonable amount. Yeah, go on in.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Lights off, yeah?
Yes, please. And there we go. There it is with the lights off. Thank you once again, Stuart, for your super chat. Despite what it says in the toilets, I think you're a very lovely, lovely man. What do you reckon about noise profile? Obviously the side panel's off, it's completely open effectively. If there's components in there, it'd be a little bit quieter. I'll shut up so you can get a better idea. So, anyway, there you go. You can see what it looks like. Let's take this front panel off, which I think, if I remember rightly, isn't particularly on tight. Nope, not too bad. So you got the mesh there. When you get this, if you buy one of these, the first thing you're going to want to do, you get one of these mesh things stuck in behind here as well for extra filtration. But mesh on top of mesh, come on, we've all seen Steve from Gamers Nexus, and realistically, you know what it's like. Mesh on mesh is a bad idea. It sucks. It's like wearing two masks. You're definitely not going to be able to breathe at all. It's going to be suffocating. So don't be doing it. But I think this looks really cool. It's metal as well. So it's, I think it's metal. Yep. It is metal. So I'm guessing that's going to be some kind of blended steel because it is magnetic. So it's not aluminum. Or aluminium, as they say in the valleys. Let's spin that back round so you can see. So the fans, they're okay. They're not amazing, and you can change the lighting by pressing the reset button. Go through various unicorny things, and there's a couple of statics in there. I think not a great deal. Yeah, so you've got red static, green static, blue static. Violet, I don't know what colour, purple, violet. What's the difference between violet and purple? Are they the same thing? Or is violet a lighter version of purple?
Violet is a sort of bluey purple.
As in ultraviolet, I suppose, isn't it? Bluey, pink. Anyway. Magenta or teal. Teal or magenta?
What's the difference between violet and mauve?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mauve.
Acid yellow. White with a hint of blue. Back down to unicorn puke. And you'll probably notice that this fan on the bottom has been put on 90 degrees different from the rest. So the RGB is...
See?
Actually, that's a good way. There's the noise profile without the fan spinning. And if I start them up, you can hear it. There's a little bit of a whoosh there. For some people, they're going to be absolutely fine with that. For me personally, when it comes to filming and stuff, no way on God's earth would I be able to cope with that. That would possibly be driving... Well, I don't know if you can hear it. Let me know in the comments. Can you hear the fans? Are they obviously audible? Are they obviously audible? Is what I was trying to say before my tongue got in the way of my teeth. Freedom House 1984 says, I have my GPU fan set at 85% when I'm gaming, so noise doesn't bother me. I can imagine. Really Random Reviews says, I can't really hear a difference. It's certainly quiet on cam. Interesting. AQ Mahora, sorry, said, yes, can hear. Rick H says I can hear them a little bit through my headphones. I can hear fans spinning, says Antonio. I can hear, but they're not distracting. Aran says cannot hear. Nick Barnes says they're audible. Yeah, got you.
But Aaron also said...
Devstroke says I'm as deaf as a post, so I can't hear anything, but I want to be able to adjust them dependent on temps. I agree. Mick says can hardly hear them. David Aiken says way too loud. Dave's with me on this.
Aaron says it's a £44 case without a horrible PSU cutout, airflow and RGB. Can't complain much.
Yeah, it's, look, realistically, the way things are at the moment with the way the economy is so screwed, like, when we were getting cases without fans for about £30, £35, it was kind of like, well, yeah, okay, it's a case. I'm probably going to have to put some fans in, which is going to cost me X amount of money extra, which adds on to the cost of the case. For system builders and system integrators, they're going to love this. because you ain't got to worry about RGB controllers. Literally just daisy chain the fans together, job done. It is literally a job done. The only thing I would say that stops me giving this a kind of 10 out of 10 is sadly the fans. If they have the same version of this available for maybe £15 less without the fans, which I think £5 a fan, you could probably justify that. So without the fans for 15 quid less, yeah, 100% go and buy one. Don't even think about it. The only thing, again, there are going to be some little drawbacks. One of the drawbacks is water cooling. Now you can put a, well, they say 280mm radiator in the front, or 240. 360 won't go. There just isn't enough room for it. I've had a look, and the cables at the top would hit the radiator. So there is a bit of a room there, so you might be able to manage something in there, but realistically a 280, 240 is where you should be. When it comes to the top, there isn't quite enough clearance, so I'm not sure if you can see that very well from that particular angle. I'll be doing a full review of this case anyway coming up, so if you miss anything or is not sure of, you'll see it in that anyway. But there's not a great deal of room between the top motherboard pillars and the top of the case. It's about 25-30mm, which is basically the width of a fan. So if you wanted to put a 240mm radiator in the top, you're going to have to make sure you've got very small VRM and also very small RGB RAM, or basically non-RGB RAM.
Rubber grommets.
There's no rubber grommets in there. Again, it's quite a cheapish case, and because of the close tolerance between the back, you probably wouldn't want that. They have actually done something quite cool with these actual pins. A lot of these pins are exactly the same top and bottom, but they've actually deliberately put a longer one on the top. So when you're putting the side panel back on, you can line up the top hole and it fits in really nicely rather than trying to mess around with it. If you've ever owned a case with a swing out door and it's got those pins on, you'll know what a pain in the backside it is to line them up if they're the same size. It's almost impossible to do first time. And as you see, I'm on camera, I'm on a weird angle, and it was an absolute piece of cake. I love the solid PSU basement on the bottom. Not only does it save money on glass, but it also protects your power supply, or means you can just put some cheap crap power supply in there and not have to worry about it, which is very, very cool in my opinion. Yes, Kath?
Off topic, retro baby, stripped motherboard. It says strips, how can I fix this? But underneath it says strip motherboard screws and I need to take them out.
If you've stripped your motherboard screws and you need to take them out, the only thing you can do really is, well, it depends how, if they're stripped or whether it's where the your mount is actually spinning. So if the little brass pillar is spinning whilst you're doing the screws, so the screw is basically jammed inside of it, so if you undo it all, the pillar comes out with the screw, the best thing to do is to wind it all back in, tighten up as much as you can, and then put a little bit of pressure around the outside edges of the screw with your finger and thumb, as much as you can, and then unscrew the screw. So your pressure of the motherboard onto the pillar should hopefully keep it in place whilst you unscrew. That's worked for me numerous times. I actually was considering doing a video on that because it is actually something which a lot of people end up doing.
Another thing, Wild Gold says your white balance is out because your mic's and boxing sign behind is washed out.
Oh, the ISO?
I suppose.
Yeah, if I turn that off,
It probably looks better.
it probably will. Yeah, this bit here, useless. Don't use it. It'll block way too much of the airflow. But overall, again, for a £40 case, you can put in a reasonable sized power supply in there. There's room in there for 4 drives, so you can put 2 SSDs, one there. And at the bottom you've got a hard drive cage which is removable. You can put a 3.5-inch drive on the bottom, 3.5-inch drive on the top, or you can put a 2.5-inch drive on the top if you want to. So in terms of drive space, not bad at all. Again, it's a cheap case. If you think, like some of the cases on the market at the moment which you may have seen in various videos, you like the look of them, but they're all kind of £100 plus. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't really want or need a £100 plus case because they just don't. They just want something to stick their parts in and be done with it. Spend your money on something which actually makes a tangible difference, like your graphics card or your processor in go with a case which just fits the bill. But yeah, I kind of like this one. I think for the price, they pretty much nailed it. The fans, for me personally, aren't ideal. Yes, Kath?
Can you answer, Guy?
I can't see, Guy. What happened with the CCL Asus motherboard? That is still going on. Asus had it back again. They then tested, apparently, with a 3500, and they turned around and said that it works fine, but they're going to send it back to Asus for a second opinion. Since then, we've tried to contact them, both myself and Marshmallow Cookie, or Kieran, and basically they kind of, well, blanked us, for want of a better word. So yeah, we're kind of been a little bit ghosted by them at the moment. So that is a still ongoing saga. I'll be honest with you, again, I've had this conversation with somebody else this week, from somebody in the industry, and Asus, I don't know what's going on. Asus are just, they seem to be dropping the ball in way too many areas. And if, you can always tell when a company is going badly wrong, because if they do software and hardware, the software starts going first. And as if you've ever used Armory Crate or AI Suite or Sonar, which is their kind of sound thing, that sound driver, Armory Crate, all that stuff, it's absolutely hideous. They do such a piss poor job of that software. I honestly don't know. I can't imagine that there's anybody who actually in Asus, in a strong position in the company, that actually tests anything. I generally am bewildered by it. Asus used to be a fantastic brand, but these days their hardware, I don't think, is anything any special. And actually, if you look at the latest roundup video by Steve over at Hardware Unboxed for the B650 boards, the kind of more entry-level boards, the Asus boards did very, very badly. And in fact, between, I think Gigabyte came out on top, then it was kind of like a toss-up between ASRock and MSI, and Asus were trailing at the end, which I think personally sums up exactly where I think Asus are going. Basically straight down the toilet. Right, so that is the KZ02 V2 Airflow. Like I said, available in a glass front, mesh front, or in black and white, and potentially, depending where you buy it, you might have options of either not having the fans at all, or having the fans. I just realised I had that out. I didn't test whether the 140 fans fitted up front, which I should have done. Anyway. Skystalker says, I really hate MSI software. It offers you Norton every time. That is bull poop. I'll be honest with you, I have had that. I don't get it every time though. It offers it to me once. I say no, I already have it. And then it doesn't do it again unless I go and scan for drivers, in which case it's in that list. Gigabyte are doing exactly the same at the moment. If you use their automatic installer, Asus do it as well. They try to do Norton as well. I'm not sure if Gigabyte was Norton. Was it? Yeah, I think it was Norton. They're basically all doing it now. So it's not like MSI are any worse or any better, but yeah, it's just the way the market is these days. Stephen Hart says, I've always trusted MSI. Rock on. Edward Chen says, Asus entry-level stuff has been shit for ages. I remember their B450M Prime boards had the worst VRM reviews of all at the same price point. Yeah, Prime used to be one of those things where if you bought a Prime board, it was a cool thing, it was great. But now the Prime is, yeah, not so good. Sorry, headphone users. Right, cats, I've got to move your sorry asses. Look at this. I'll show you what, this is what I've got to put up with. There's the cats, they're on the other case. It's like, come on, move your ass. That isn't one cat, that's two cats. One's just darker than the other. But they are mother and son. There's Flame, he's the son. How you doing, Flame? And there is Maisie. Maisie! Oi, hello. Say, hello, McFly. 2 coats of wax. Nope, simply not interested. Right. Okay. Right, I'm going to... Guys, move.
I'll do that. Well, no, that's Daisy's.
Oh, yeah, you've got a little flea on there, a little bugger. Flea. Poppy doesn't like tape. She's got a thing about it. She don't like the sound of tape being ripped.
I just didn't like you sneezing.
Oh, yeah, sneezing. I think she must have tinnitus. Right, kitty cats, jump over onto that box because I need that one. Come on, onto this box. There you go. What has got there? Shut up, Fleen. Trying to
You're
help.
so mean.
There we go. That'll do.
Don't chase Daisy.
Right, so next we have the... Oh, that's upside down. That's a rookie error.
Amy?
So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the Ionz Kiru Gamer Edition, or the KZ29. They do this with a lot of their cases now. They have kind of multiple names. I'm not sure if I said that earlier. Maybe I did. In terms of specs, so again, ATX. Basically, it's going to be kind of very similar to the other one, a little bit bigger on the old glass side of things. And it's got a manually removable side panel. Maximum CPU cooler height on this one's 160mm, which is a little bit less than the KZ02, which is 165mm, so we'll take slightly larger CPU coolers. On this side, what we got? So cooling, front 3 120mm fans included, 2 120s in the top and 1 120 in the rear, should you wish to. Same for the other case again, so 3 120s up front, 2 120s up top, and also a 120 in the rear, so to speak. And trying to get myself electrocuted, so we don't like that.
Taped the cat, have you?
I haven't, no. The thought had crossed my mind.
Oh, Nick Barnes says their cat hates the Dyson. She hides with wide, scared eyes.
Actually, we're lucky. We
They
use
don't like the big Dyson.
our Tinico, which is like a battery powered one, and it's pretty decent. Gets the job done, and they don't mind it. Right.
They're just too old to move now. To be bothered.
So here we are. This is the KZ29 Kiru, or Kiru, and this is definitely the cheese grater design on the front. I'm not too sure what crack they were smoking when they designed this, but yeah, I'm not too sure how this comes through on camera. But basically, you've got like a crisscross, almost like a double diamond setup, and in between each one of them, there's like a solid plastic kind of almost like nipple. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's tons of them all along, and if you go up and down it, like if you're a blind person, you could probably, that's like War and Peace or something. There's so many little dots on there sticking out. See if I can get it on a better angle where you can actually see it. But I don't know why they've done the dots. You can't really tell they're there. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the way they make the case. I have no idea. Anyway, so front panel.
Kev says, man, that's fugly.
pretty distinctive front panel. This is the cheapest one of the cases that they have currently of the new range. So this one I think is going to retail for somewhere in the region of about £35, maybe £37 I think. Obviously links are in the video description so you can check those out. On the side, a full-size glass panel, which kind of does go to some way to give you that slightly more, I don't know, the cheaper look. This, I feel, for the money, is probably not as nice as the KZ02 V2.
PSU cutout is back. No.
PSU cutout is back. So glass panel is basically, yeah. I'm not even sure if there is a tint to this or not.
Doesn't look it.
There is a bit of a tint, but I think it's more to do with the actual the protective coating. Oh no, there is yeah, there's a very, very light smoke tint. And it's got the little plastic rubber grommets which hold the screws in place, which yeah, I'm not entirely keen on. But it's okay. It's 3mm tempered glass, so it is what it is. This case does exactly the same, so you've got mesh on mesh. Obviously, I've just taken this out because mesh on top of a mesh, yeah, you shouldn't do it. It's ridiculous. Again,
In this case, use the ATX motherboard.
it is, all of these cases are ATX, but they're all compact ATX. And I think I've actually dented this already. How have I dented that? Ow, that hurt. So cut out on the PSU shroud. Not overly keen on that. Some people like it, some people don't. I guess if you've got a relatively nice power supply in there, then more reason to show it off. You've got some ventilation on the bottom. Actually, let me turn the other light on so you can see this a little bit better. And let's do the ISO. And we'll set that to 50 and let it walk up from there. And we should be back to full. There we go, that's better. So yeah, ventilation along the bottom there. If you want to, you can put a couple of fans there. They have got screw holes, so some of the air which is being forced in the bottom you can then pull back up. Same deal as before. So on the back you've got these flexi kind of bend out shields, 120mm fan space on the back. And in terms of your front IO, same sort of deal. These are actually nicely blacked out. It's weird how they do this. So some of the things which you'd want on the other case, they've not done, and some of the things on this they have done on, yeah. So fully blacked out IO panel cables, same for your HD audio and your front USB, so wired together, and also a single USB 3.0 as we had before. Little accessories bag with your motherboard pillars, etc. as you'd expect. Ignore Kath, she is poking the fire. And that isn't code. Back panel, a little bit fugly, a little bit of a bump there, which normally means there isn't going to be a great deal of cable management room. So flat cables on your PSU would be extremely beneficial here because there isn't a lot of wiggle room in this back panel, which yeah. So you've got a cutout section there, which is deeper. That is going to give you somewhere in the region of about just under 20mm of gap there. At the more shallow section, you're looking at just under 10. So 10mm is just a little bit bigger, well, 3/8 of an inch, maybe. Not a huge amount of room. Easy to get through to pass through it there. That's been cut out nicely. So for your EPS, not a lot of height again. So if you want to put a radiator in here, in the top, it ain't going to go realistically. Not enough room for it. It is a compact ATX. So in terms of height, this is about 17 inches tall. So it is quite small. It's basically a micro ATX chassis, but able to take an ATX case. Same deck arrangement as before, so 3.5 inch drive on the bottom, 2.5 inch on the top, or 2.5 inch on the top, entirely up to you. That is kind of it in terms of drives there. You can put them in the front section if you want to, screw them on and put your cables through this bit. Whether or not you'd want to do that, I don't know. It's a little bit challenging doing it that way, I think, personally. I'm sorry, I was going to pull these cables through. I should have done that before when I had a brief look at this. I think when I looked at this before, I got to a certain point and I was like, oh, Jesus. And kind of gave up. Now the bit where I gave up is the fans on the front. So for those of you that aren't sure, these are what are known in the trade as a Molex connector, which suck. But they have done a cool thing. There is 3-pin VDC. So if you want to, you can use your 3-pin voltage control to basically do everything you need to with the fans. The weird thing is though, the fans are RGB, but they are fixed RGB. So there isn't an RGB button on the top. That's a reset button, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to double check this because I'm not sure if they are, but I think they are fixed RGB. So you could use the 3-pin, plug that into your motherboard or a fan controller, and you could actually have control over the fan RPMs, which is a good thing generally. But let's see how loud they are, because I honestly don't know.
Is it wise putting more than 2 smaller drives in the bottom?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. I'd put, if you're using SSDs, then you could basically Velcro them or sticky back plastic them pretty much wherever you want to. They don't generate a great deal of heat. They're not having a great deal of weight to them either, so there's not as if you kind of move the case around, they're going to go flying, because they don't have that inertia that you have with the harder or heavier 3.5-inch drives, mechanical ones. Let's plug this in.
Mark Point says it's snowing in Vancouver.
Snowing in Vancouver.
And William said they had snow yesterday.
Awesome. I like a bit of snow. So there is your RGB. And bizarrely, the fans are really quiet. I'll be completely quiet now so you can hear them. There isn't a lot of airflow, to be honest. They are spinning quite slowly. But it is moving some air. Not a huge amount. Let's have a look.
3 more likes.
3 more likes, please. Come on, guys. Bob's not here. No, 4 likes we need.
66 on ours.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
No.
Okay.
So, fixed RGB, which is not brilliant. I'm just going to check it is. Yeah, that's not changing at all. And actually, with that front panel removed, there is actually a lot more airflow. So that is quite restrictive. It doesn't look like it is going to be, but it is actually. The fans are, like we said before, they're oh God. They're cheap fans, which I'm almost breaking. That's a horrible noise. These are 120mm fans. Sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier. Yeah, so they're actually kind of nice looking fans in terms of cheap RGB fans. The fact that you can use them with a 3-pin voltage control is excellent. It's these cases aren't designed for like super high-end builds or anything like that.
Raven's here from Bedminster.
Who is?
Raven.
Can't you see that? Zendraven. Alright, Babber, Bedminster calling. Alright, my love. How's it going? Going down bed me later? Right, let's turn it off before I break something. When you're unplugging Molex connections, never have your power supply on. The reason why you can do it with SATA is because the grounding pins are a little bit longer, whereas on Molex they're exactly the same length. And you want it so that you are still grounded when you remove power, otherwise it goes bang. Which is why Molex isn't hot swap and SATA is.
Nick Barnes.
You've learned a thing there.
Fans fixed, so how are they linked to a PSU? As assume no need for hub.
Yep, no need for hub. The only way to get power is via either the 4-pin Molex connectors, or you can cut those off if you want to and just use the 3-pin traditional kind of PWM style fan header. That will supply power, and it's supplying enough power through the header that it actually will light up the lights as well. Because they're not addressable RGB as such, all they require is power. And because you're sending voltage down this wire for the fans, you can send the voltage for the lights at the same time. It's a little bit of a cheat, but it does potentially save them money when they're building a case. And again, this is about 35 quid. So to have 3 fans in, if you've got like an older Intel board or an old AMD kind of Phenom or Athlon system, and you want to do a little cheap system and want it to look half modern, stick it in this. It's going to be a lot easier to sell. Especially like maybe like a 3570 processor from Intel. Stick in a half decent little graphics card, like a GTX 1650 or something, it's a nice little flip system case. And that is, I think, what a lot of people are going to aim this at. This is going to be great for system integrators as well. These things will fly off the shelves because it's just one of those things where they don't have to worry about hubs and all that kind of stuff. They literally plug in the Molex. If anyone's bought a iBuyPower or CyberPower PC from over in the States, you know exactly where I'm coming from. They basically throw in any old motherboard they can, stick it in a case with a ton of RGB, and people buy them. People buy them like crazy. A letter. You see it? Looks like a good case to take to the shooting range. Steve from KZ, if you're watching, ignore a letter.
She only likes really big boys.
She buys expensive cases. She's got expensive tastes. She is the vampire queen.
And what is
Would not be seen with a budget case such as this.
mid-29 game from the 90s? What's that?
How many?
William Bodie.
William Bodie. Voice before me. Old game.
What is it?
A MiG-29 game from the 90s.
Sounds like me.
Sounds like your voice. Kath was one of those voices in a computer game.
Is it like a Spectrum loading a game?
No, it's not that sort of whining like a Spectrum noise. Or a modem dialing up. Kath's got the voice for modems. Okay.
Stephen Hart, one of the issues with budget cases is sharp edges. Are these smoothed off?
These are smooth. To be honest, yeah, that is something which I wouldn't say it's just, I'm going to be fair now, I don't think it's just Ionz or GameMax or any of that are basically doing anything any better or any worse than anyone else at the moment. I think what it is, a lot of the manufacturing plants, essentially all of these cases come from somewhere in deepest, darkest China. Let's be real. They get imported, they stick badges on, and they become something else. Or if the company is buying in a large enough bulk, you can put your own badge on it. I've done it myself. I looked on Alibaba. You can find these cases from other companies such as, I think it's like John's Bow and stuff like that. And basically if you order 1,000 cases or more, you can choose to have your own logos on the boxes. You can put a sticker on the front. You can basically configure these cases however you want to, but you've got to buy the quantity. So if you want to buy 1,000 cases, you can do that. When I worked at M2, which was a computer store in Bristol in the late 90s, early 2000s, they did the same thing. They went to like one of these computer shows. I think it was probably Computex, possibly. And they were buying PC cases, and the guy like on the trade counter would basically say, okay, what do you want the power supply to say? And they're like, well, what power supply comes in it? He's like, well, what do you want it to say? And he's like, no, I want you to put on there what the power supply is. So basically they were making badges up on power supplies, and they would say whatever wattage you wanted it to, which was weird because they ended up speccing them with power supplies from FSP or Fortron Source, which were really good power supplies. But anyway, yeah, it's the Chinese market is a very unusual one.
Mark Point broke his son's Mobo, just transferring it into a new case.
Oh, Mark, how'd you do that?
I have a fear of changing Mobos in cases.
Changing motherboards in cases is always a little bit traumatic, I'll be honest. But sorry to hear that happen to you. That does suck. So there you go, that is the Ionz KZ29, the Kiru edition. I'm pretty sure there's going to be other versions of this on the market by other companies. But I wanted you to have a look, see what you think about it. Coming up next is going to be the big boy. This next case is an absolute monster, and I might need a backiotomy after I've done it. Let's chuck these out there.
Squeeze them in a bit. Oh, no, you've got it under there.
Squeeze in a little bit, bugger boys. Right, let's have a quick Let's have a little slurp on my cup of tea for a minute and say hello to some of you lovely, lovely people in El Chateauroux. What are we saying? What are we saying? Stephen Hart, one of the issues... Oh yeah, got you. Yep, answered that one. David Underhill says, I love my expensive Lian Li case. Way better than any $40 case. Spending money on a case is... I think there's obviously... I probably think most of you in the chat at the moment are going to be very similar to my ideal. And that is, you don't mind spending a bit of extra money on a case if it either A, looks good, so it appeals to you immediately visually, or there's some feature about it which makes it worth the extra money, i.e. does it come with a fan controller, does it come with a fan hub, does it have fans included? Those are the kind of things which I think I personally look at, and probably you guys do as well. The main thing is going to be the look. Most people, when you're shopping for a case, you go through the cases, you're like, yeah, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good. You possibly then kind of looking at prices, but then you go down to the nitty gritty of like, right, will my shit actually fit inside this case? In which case, more times than not, you're like, oh right, so I can't get my power supply in there, or my cooler won't fit, or it won't do a 360 rad. It's, yeah. Sometimes when you spend a little bit extra money and go with the more expensive cases, which are generally a little bit bigger, then you potentially are going to get a better result. Now, I've got to turn my fridge freezer off a minute because I can hear it. Can you hear it if I be quiet? It's like the old TV thing where you used to get that high-pitched...
I can't hear it. Sorry.
Can you hear that?
Not particularly. I can hear that. It sounds like your computer more so.
The turn...
Maybe it's that.
Yeah, it's the kitchen. Right. I'll turn it off and see if you can hear a difference because it's driving me insane. You can hear it now because I'm stood next to the fridge freezer so you can hear the compressor. I'll turn it off. There we go.
I wonder if they could hear you make me a coffee.
Silence. Turn it back on. And the compressor is silent. Kettle on while I'm out here. The wireless freedom of a microphone is awesome. I've forgotten how cool it was to not have a wire attached to me. Wireless freedom, ladies and gentlemen. There's the receiver, my Boya receiver. So you can tell it's a receiver, it says RX on it. And there is, just in case... Oh, actually, where do I put it? Oh, it's over there. If, for some reason, the microphone went flat during the stream, I have actually got my other one ready to go. And actually, I'm glad I said that because I've got to charge up my booster for tomorrow before I get that other case out, because this needs doing. For those of you that haven't seen this before, this is the Lucky Thor JA301 car booster. This thing is awesome for obviously boosting your car. Let's see what battery we got. I think we got full battery anyway.
I've used it twice.
That's not bad. Yeah, I used it twice already. I think that'll be alright, Babs.
Okay.
Turn that off.
Got to hold your finger on it, babe.
I know.
I'm getting used to it now.
You know how to use it better than I do. The next time we have to do a video on one of these jump starters, I'll get Kath to do it. I'll just do the camera shit.
I've got to pop in and pop in as I do it.
Yeah, Kath's like, oh,
Get
God.
in the car and go. It's alright, but I can't get in and out of the car door because it's so close to the wall. And you can't start the car without your foot on the clutch.
Right, frame house. Glenn says the beauty of cheap cases versus expensive cases is with cheap you can be surprised how good. With expensive it better be good. Yeah, that is very true actually. Nick Barnes says, Mike, because you create videos, do you feel more conscious of noise now? I don't know. I think I've always had a sensitive ear to noise, but I'm tone deaf as well, if that makes sense. So musically, I'm useless. If someone told me to tune in a guitar to, I don't know, D sharp or whatever, I'd have
Can you even read music
yeah,
to even know that?
I'd have no clue. And in my music exams at school, I basically did terrible, and even the teacher said this probably isn't the subject for you. It's like, it probably isn't. But when it comes to certain frequencies and noises, I seem to differentiate it well. I think it's because I have a very, well, I'm somewhere on the autistic spectrum, 100%, definitely. I think most males are in some respect. But when I was younger, I was very introverted, but I would spend my time listening a lot. So I suppose over the years, I've been able to listen to multiple things at the same time and take in most of it. So I'd listen to people's conversations whilst doing my own thing, or then listening to the teacher as well. And when I worked for the BBC, because they were basically mostly backstabbing bastards, you had to listen to everything at the same time. So even if you were just doing your own thing, minding your own business, you'd be listening to all the other conversations going on at the same time. So I think I've used to listening now, and making videos does help as well. Listening to, I can hear the pump. Yeah, I can just about hear the pump and the fans in the PC behind me. So yeah, I do notice these things. Andy Archer, what case is the one on the shelf behind you? That is the Thermaltake Series 500 TG. Which I'm actually...
Why is it not called Carries?
Carries. Series. Well, Carries, yeah, it could be Carries.
C-E-R.
This case is growing on me. It's very easy to work in. I do like that. The only thing I don't like at the moment is Thermaltake software is pretty bad. Their TT RGB software has got a ridiculously high software overhead. And if I turn the software on, like at the moment that's idling, it's somewhere around about 36 degrees, which is brilliant for a AM5 system. But as soon as I turn on the Thermaltake software, it'll start going to like 40 to 50 to sometimes to 60, just idling. So there's definitely something weird with the Thermaltake software. They do update it on a regular basis, and it's like the previous version was fine. The version before that was awful, and this version now is bad again. I've just installed it again after doing the reinstall, and then I've disabled it because it's just like, why is it hammering my CPU so much? But anyway.
UK Miners Club.
UK Miners Club. Rock on. How do you use a mouse left-handed? I'm left-handed, and even I don't use a mouse with it. I can use either. I don't mind using right or left. When I'm at work, most people that I work with are right-handed, so the mouse is on the right, so I use it on the right hand. I prefer it on the left, but I can pretty much get on either way. Lucky Man says, have to turn off fish tank when gaming. Keeps me thinking it's a water pumping PC. Yeah. What's that? William Bodie. Mike, are you playing GTA 5 Bristol DLC? No.
Got to drink your drink.
Oh yeah. Andy Archer is saying, sounds like Windows, good then bad then good. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to turn my light back on. Yeah, what I said earlier about cases not matching up, this one does it. So if I close that, yeah, it's I have to lift it up slightly. So it doesn't matter how much money you spend. Lian Li as well, they're renowned for it. Their build quality is like Tesla. So I always have to lift it up a little bit. You can adjust the bits on the back, but it just seems that, I suppose, well, this glass is actually thicker. So this is like a 4mm thick, which is a little bit thicker than most. But yeah, I do have to end up moving it. Does also, depending on what surface you're on. If you're on a flat surface, that helps a lot. If you're not on a particularly flat surface, the case will kind of mold itself and kind of deform itself slightly. William Bodie says, use the battery 2 times. Oh yeah, I see what you mean now. P.S. Show the left-handed mouse I did send you. Where? I don't even know where I put that now. That is up here somewhere. Where did I put the left-handed mouse, Kath?
No idea. Your house shelf?
No, I don't think I did. Where did I put it? I move around. Stuff in here gets moved around so often during the day, it's just ridiculous. There's so many things that I cannot find. And I think, at the moment, the left-handed mouse is one of them. Actually, was that the Logitech one? Was that left-handed? Oh. No. Still got it. Can't even think what I look like now. Where did I put it? Got me thinking now. I have got a box of stuff upstairs in the loft which I'm waiting to unbox. What have I done with that? Where did I put it? Didn't I put it on your desk? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Let's take a look at this huge bloody great case, which is underneath the desk. It had to be underneath the desk because basically it's so big I've got nowhere else for it. Oh dear, one of those cats has done something despicable.
I bet that was you. Blaming them again.
Where did I put that mouse? Oh. I was like this the other day. What was I looking for, Kath? And I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I found it, and it was like in such a stupid place. Oh, it was the
Box for your thing.
yeah. I was trying to find my processor. So my AM5 processor in there was the 7600X. I've actually swapped out. There's a 7700X in there now because there was one on warehouse deals from Amazon, and it was very cheap. So I decided that was the way to go. So it cost me about £40–50 to upgrade. So I did it. Let's close that down. Is it cleared? Yes, it has. So this massive case is the Ionz Pro Gamer Deep Space, or the KZX. This thing's huge. Spec-wise, 4 120mm fans, 2 120mm fans in the rear, 3 120mm fans on the top, and 3 120mm fans on the bottom, optional. So you can choose this to have either no fans, 4 fans, 6 fans, or 9 fans. As you can see there, so 4 included, rear, optional, 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 blah, blah, blah. Cooling system, so front 4, actually, oh, I get it, what it is. That's the same thing, so they should have ticked, which, yeah, it's that one there. That's why there's a barcode on there. It makes sense now. Wow, I'm such an idiot. Anyway, on the other side, it's tempered glass, black interior, and there's just tempered glass everywhere. It's just basically tempered glass everywhere. Water cooling in the front, you can do a 240, 280, 360. In the top, you can do a 240 or a 280, and in the rear, you can do a 120. 7 expansion slots, 400mm graphics card, 170mm air cooler, so that's getting bigger. And you see the chassis size on there, etc. So let's get this bad boy out, because this thing is huge. Oh, and there's a remote control inside, with cat's hairs on. Cat's been sitting on this as well. Now, I'm going to try and do this off camera, because this is going to be hard work. Oh my fucking god, this is heavy. Don't worry about flame. Oh dear Lord. I say that a lot. And funnily enough, dear Lord does not reply. Where have I put that mouse, Kath? That's really annoying me now.
Is it on the other shelf?
No, well, it should have been on there. That is really perplexing. I bet it's hid. Oh, I know where it is. It's on that top shelf, I think. I have to dig it out.
The camera shook mini quake when Deep Space landed.
Yeah,
Go on.
damn straight. Right.
What?
Yeah, there was actually an earthquake in Wales this week. I'm not sure if any of you heard about it. So,
Yesterday, wasn't it?
yes, it was yesterday. So in, I think it was mostly South Wales. It was felt in the possibly in the Rhondda Valley, I think it was. So yeah, our thoughts to our Welsh viewers watching the channel at the moment. Obviously, it was quite a heavy earthquake for the UK. We didn't really get them over here. So the quake was, I think it was like 4 on the Richter scale, and apparently because of the ferocity of the earthquake, it caused about £17 million worth of improvements to the local area. So there's a winner.
Earthquake in Bristol. Mark Berry said. We did feel one once, didn't we, years ago?
We did, yeah. It was in Birmingham, the epicenter.
Was it?
Yeah.
But we felt it, and you could hear the wardrobe doors
Yeah,
banging.
our wardrobe doors opened and closed. It's like,
Like we thought, we lived above a shop, and we thought the delivery driver had driven into the shop or something.
so this is the KZX Deep Space. So you have a blacked out glass panel on this side, whatever side you want to call it. You have a blacked out glass panel on the front. And you have a blacked out glass panel on the rear. Now it's smoke tint, so you can see things a little bit. So I don't know, you can probably see through there a little bit now if I grab El Torturuno. Not sure if you can or not, but yeah, light there. You can see it does shine through. So it's not entirely open, but
Oh, they can see my reflection. God damn it, babe.
well, it's your fault. Oh no, that's the back. So let's take the back off first, since we're on this side. So this one is a little bit more expensive. Depending, I've seen it for various different prices. The most expensive I think was on possibly Amazon, at about £80. But you should find this somewhere in the region of about £60. So if you want a big ass case with a ton of glass on it, this might be the one for you. So it has got quite a dark tint to the glass, which is good because it hides up cable management and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on in here. There really is. So you've got rubber grommets. You've got 4 rubber grommets in the top. You also got 3 down the side there, plus an additional 2 at the bottom. So there already is like 9 rubber grommets for starters. You've got drive cage at the bottom. So 2 removable sled drive cages for your 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drives. So you can put on there whichever you choose, whichever you see fit. Those click into place nicely. Tons of room for a power supply, obviously, because it's a bloody huge case. You do have a built-in fan controller or fan hub that has a RGB, addressable RGB pass-through. So you can connect it up to your motherboard, whatever. You can add more fans to this, so this will take up to 10 fans in total, plus a couple of LED strips. And on the side here, you've got 2 cages for 2.5 inch drives. Potentially, if you wanted to, you can mount them on these bits here, so there's lots of options there. Tons of cabling. You've got a dual USB 3.0, got your USB, you've got your HD audio, all that kind of usual stuff. You've also got a ton of screws and bits and pieces for mounting equipment. I think that's pretty much it for this side. Yes, Kath?
David Underhill says it's £84.95 with £156.28 delivery afforded in Australia.
That's actually, I'm going to leave that panel off because we will be needing to fire this bad boy up so we can see what it's like. And check out the lighting, which there's going to be a lot of. So on the front, again, similar sort of deal.
Looks like it hasn't got much airflow.
The glass is actually stacked and there's a good, I don't know, ½ inch all the way around. So even though it doesn't have direct airflow from the front, because this is offset a little bit from it, so you've got these, there's basically motherboard standoff pillars and these little rubber grommets. So that pushes the glass out from the actual fans themselves. And as you can see, there are 4 120s up front, which is a little bit of overkill, but it's still quite nice and narrow, which is, I kind of like that. That's a cool thing in my opinion. So let's take off this side panel as well. There's going to be a market for this, I know for sure, because still, even though there's some cases on the market which are kind of similar to this, which don't have the obvious benefits of direct airflow, like mesh fronts, etc., there's still a huge market for people that just want a ton of glass and RGB lighting. I personally don't get it. It doesn't really float my boat entirely, but I see there is a market for it, and the fact that companies keep on coming out with these cases and doing the same thing, clearly there is a market for it, because otherwise they wouldn't bother making them, because no one would buy them and they just end up sitting on a shelf somewhere. So inside, tons and tons of room, so radiators on the top. Clearly you can get a huge radiator in here which will hang down to about here, because there is so much room up top. To be honest with you, they could probably have done with taking off a couple of inches at the top. It doesn't need to be this tall, because there is an absolute... Actually, I'm going to measure it.
Fit fans in the front though, isn't it?
I don't know if it, I suppose, yeah. There is at least 100 mil between the top of the case and the motherboard. So,
Above that first fan.
well, here.
Yeah. That's probably why it's so tall, isn't it?
There is 40 mil between the top of the case and the top of the first fan, which means it totally clears any of the wiring for the front panel headers, etc., which is cool. It's a very unusual case. I don't know if I understand it fully, what they're trying to actually achieve here, but no, you got the mesh side on the PSU shroud. I don't know why. I have no idea why they do that, but it's a thing. You can put 3 fans on the top here, mounted sections to go through. All of the PCI Express slots are removable and replaceable, and there's a ton of mesh on the back and 2 fans on the rear, which is nuts. This is a crazy ass case in so many ways. You can.
Wants to put dibs on this case for an epic water-cooled build.
Glenn, okay. Glenn's putting dibs on it. He's going all out with all the rads. You could, I think.
William doesn't understand where the air is coming in.
The air comes in from the so you get the glass panel. So imagine when you're sat at home, you're watching the TV and you're in the living room, and the door isn't open, but it's slightly, there's like a little gap in the door, and you're sat there on the sofa and you can feel the draft coming in. That is basically the principle of this. So because you've got the glass is got standoffs, so there's a slit down here, which is about a finger's width all around. So that because that's all around, you can still get air in. And because you've got 4 fans there, it is going to pull air in. Now these fans aren't going to be the strongest fans in the world. So if you wanted a high airflow situation, then you probably want to change out the fans. But you can buy this without fans.
And Glenn says I'd put longer standoffs on the front.
Do you know what? The longer standoffs thing, that was the first thing I tried doing. Kath, did I try that or did I not? Remember me? I was going through my little box of stuff here, and I did exactly the same thing. So I put the threads on these are the same both sides. So if you've got motherboard standoff pillars, you can either get longer ones or just add another motherboard pillar off there, and you can give it about another 5 to 7 mil, depending on the motherboard pillars, and it makes it breathe a little bit easier. So Glenn, you are absolutely on the money there, sir. I have tried that, and yes, that is exactly what works, and it does work very well. So let's fire this up in...
Each case in London will be about £350 per week to rent a room in it.
Where are we? So there are all the fans lit up. I think it looks actually really pretty. I think the center lit and the exterior lit fans do a really good job. And also you can adjust the speed of them and or turn it all off. You set it to on, put it in auto mode and it'll go through all the various colors, etc. Where is speed?
What does the top look like before you finish up? Not like right now, but...
So if you want to, turn the fans off altogether, or you can put them on the first speed, which is that one there. And on the first speed, kind of silent. So considering there's 6 fans in there, that's doing pretty well. On the top,
Here's what I found.
so removable mesh filter, as you'd expect, loads of mesh up there and extra ventilation. And then you've got your front panel I/O, so 2 USB 2.0s. There's a reset button. Oh, sorry, that's the RGB button, I think. RGB button? Yeah, that's the RGB button. So that is wired up to the front panel. So if you don't want to use the remote control, you can press the button there.
Put an MITX board inside of it for that.
Put an ITX board in there, yeah. Oh, where's the button gone? There it is. So press and hold it. It then switches over into motherboard mode, but there isn't a motherboard connected, so it's going to do absolutely nothing. And then you go back to the regular modes there.
Can't really see them on camera. Should I turn the light off, see if that makes
Yeah.
it better?
That might be a bit too bright for the camera, but we'll see. Actually, I can turn the lighting brightness down, can't I? There, if I turn, yeah. If I turn it up, it blows it out, doesn't it? So, there we go. Yeah, so you can see what it all looks like. I think it's pretty cool, considering how much it costs. Like,
Apart from Australia.
yeah, unless you're in Australia, obviously.
It costs a reasonable amount, it's just the postage.
Yeah. I think they've pretty much nailed it here. Here. The fans are, well, I'll be quiet. Turn the fans off. It is obviously silent. There is a little bit of noise from the fans, I'll be honest, but not a lot. I would notice it personally.
Turn it on.
Yeah. So I'm hypnotizing myself with RGB. Must buy Ionz cases. You can do the static colours as well. So you've got your red, you've got your green, you've got your blue, you've got your yellow, you've got your gigabyte almost yellow orange. Then you've got gigabyte orange. Then, actually that's more gigabyte orange. Then you've got your pale blue, your dark blue, pink. Motherboard button, but there's nothing connected to the motherboard, so that's not going to work. And then you've got your white illumination, which actually, with it turned down like this, to me in the room this doesn't look very bright at all, but on camera it actually probably looks, yeah, I can see on there it looks actually pretty decent. But
How's the fan pressure?
they do get very bright. There's various steps there, so that's on full brightness. The fan pressure isn't great, and the actual movement of air for a high airflow case, they're not really designed for that. They're more of a kind of a little bit quiet, so I'll put them on full blast. So that's speed 2, 3, I think there's a 4, no, 3 speeds, so 4 speeds including off. So top speed is this, and moving a reasonable amount of air, not a huge amount. They're not really kind of airflow fans as such, like I said. So that's top speed. Medium speed is kind of, it feels almost the same. It doesn't feel a great deal different. And the lowest speed Yeah, a bit of a drop off there. And obviously off. Sadly, there doesn't appear...
Fashion disco light, like your Tandy light.
Oh, yeah. There doesn't appear to be a PWM controller, so the fan speeds will be controlled off of the remote control. For a lot of builders, that's going to be beneficial, because the amount of people that get something as basic as fan headers wrong, you'd be surprised how many people do actually get that, like, just really, really wrong. I suppose just most of us, myself included, are very kind of, we've done it many times, so you kind of know, but yeah, it's a lot of people get it wrong.
A letter says the white looks really white. My fans have a bluish tint.
The white on these actually is pretty nice.
It doesn't look that bluish, does it?
No.
That looks quite subtle.
That's kind of nice. It's a little bit different. There's a few different modes on here, which I kind of like. This, I think, is like a more pastel RGB. So if you don't like your traditional kind of unicorn puke carousel type thing, you've got this, which is just a little bit different.
It's a bit muted.
And then you've got like the chasing colours. Some quite nice effects on here, to be fair. There's another one very similar again. That's got a little bit more of the unicorn puke, yeah. There's actually loads of different versions of the same sort of thing. And some of the chase patterns.
Torture chamber. Bright lights.
Bright lights. I'll leave it on unicorn puke. So yeah, overall, I think.
Surely low airflow defeats object of such a case.
Not really, because the whole point of this case is the visual spectacle. That is what it's all about. It's about creating a look. Let's get the sides on so you can see what it looks like with all the panels on.
Yeah, they said that.
Yeah, I
think that's what I was going to say.
These panels are super heavy. These are, I think these might even be 5mm or 4mm, but they do feel very heavy. These are like proper heavy-duty glass panels.
Held on with little screws.
Yeah. Held on with little screws, which I'm probably going to drop.
Many times.
I would love to know how many of these get damaged in transit. I'm guessing it's quite a high number. I don't know what it is. There's something about 4 120mm fans all next to each other. It just looks kind of slightly ridiculous, but very cool at the same time, I think. I've got a sneaking suspicion I put this on around the wrong side.
Does both sides fit on the same side?
Well, we'll find out. It does seem so.
Where did you get that one? Nearest you or behind?
I don't know.
The one nearest was the front.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
No,
Yeah,
the one nearest
this
was
is the back one.
So is that the back you just put on?
Yes, that is the. Yeah, that is right. Yeah, because the other one says, "Warning: remove film."
Yeah, and that further back one was the back. What was the front one?
These are so heavy.
Enough to justify 156 quid to the Australia?
No, no. There's no. I don't think there's a case on the market which I would pay 156 quid or 150 quid to post anywhere. I think you'd have to have something very, very spectacular for that sort of money.
Creating a look, then hiding it behind dark glass.
Yeah. Although, actually, we can turn the brightness up now, so we'll be able to see it.
Case has to be white for Miami Vice PC case. Non-hinge doors are a no-no for me.
Yeah, a hinge door on this, I think, would make a lot more sense. It's one of those designs where I'm sure this has been around before, and I'm almost 100% certain there's a version of this by GameMax. I think it's called the GameMax Goliath, possibly. And it is basically the same case, from what I can tell, just it costs about 120 quid Whereas this, I think, is closer to 60 or 70 if you get it in kind of like the cheapest places. I think 60 quid for an all glass case isn't ridiculous, especially when you think of some cases on the market now for the sort of £50 mark, which aren't great. And considering the size of this and just all that glass, if you're into glass and you like the whole reflective thing, then yeah, this is definitely going to be one of those showpiece kind of PCs. Let's turn the fans on.
O'Reilly says the smoky tint works with those RGB fans.
Yeah, I think it does.
It does, doesn't it?
Can you turn that one off a minute?
Please.
Please, thank you. There we go. There's the lights off, and you can see it in its glory, so to speak.
But you can't ever on that camera.
I'm still concerned that I'm going to have to review this, and I can't hardly fit it on the camera, on the screen. You know. There you go. That's
Why does this keep stopping?
I'll take that off the top. Yeah, there's a bit of air coming out the top. Personally, I think if it was me and I was buying this case for my own personal use, I would probably buy it without fans and put in my own. Although saying that, it does look kind of nice. And not everybody is completely like insanely obsessed with airflow. Although saying that, there is quite a lot of airflow coming out the back, so it is exhausting a lot. Yeah, there is quite a lot on there. Riley says to the case on the desk, "Hello, beautiful." It is nice. There is a very unusual look to this. Having the two fans on the rear as exhaust, I think that is kind of nuts. It's a shame that wasn't bigger, so you could put a 240mm radiator in there. I think that would be very cool. Anyway, so there we go. Let's get some lights back on, young Catherine, if we can, please. Actually, oh sorry, before you do that, if I put it on the side, you can see what the bleed through is like on the side. If I turn that one off, so hopefully now you can see there is a little bit of bleed through in kind of like a nice way. Obviously, if there's a motherboard in there, this bit is going to be covered up more. But I think it's kind of nice how you can see some of the light coming out from the sides there, and just, I don't know if you can see that very well or not. Probably looks different to me than it does to you. But yeah, it's kind of like a nice look because you can see a little bit of what's going on in there, but it's not like deliberately open and obvious. Hey, you can turn it back on now, please.
It's going around, so I can't get it on my phone.
I don't know. Is the stream going okay? Appears to be.
It does on my computer, but not on my phone.
Yeah. Very strange. It's probably Google or kicked us off. So let's have some questions. Anyone got any questions about the KZ-X Dark Space, Deep Space, Deep Space 9? The cavernous PC that is. There's so much room in there. And I suppose if you use the top of this,
$64.99 Amazon, no fans.
$64.99 with no fans, that I think is actually not a bad shout. To get it with no fans and then maybe stick in some Corsair, maybe some SF-120s, and do a really nice light show with all the lights kind of trailing around each other. I think that is what this case really, really would love, is to have some kind of real proper addressable RGB like the Lian Li fans, or something where you can program each RGB differently rather than just be kind of replicating. But yeah, overall.
You said the brighter settings actually make sense with the dark tint.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, with the dark tint on, the RGB isn't in your face. Like if I look at the PC behind me, the RGB RAM and the fans, it's all a little bit kind of too bright. Whereas with this, it's like wearing sunglasses. It's like the case is wearing its own sunglasses.
There for your eyes.
And yeah, I think it works well. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a love it or hate it. Some people are going to look at glass and go, no airflow, not interested. I totally understand that.
Where does the 5.25-inch double density floppy drive space or DVD's drive space?
There is actually, if you take out the top fan, there is actually space in there for a DVD drive, 2 of them. But you might struggle ejecting them because the glass might be a little in the way. It's a shame there's not extra holes there. So you could remove the top glass and have some DVD drives in there. But I think that would spoil the whole aesthetic. But originally this case did have support for 5.25-inch bays.
What's the front I/O like?
Front I/O, actually I'll get it on the overhead camera I think.
Rather than struggle.
Yeah. So, there we go.
Should have been a bit wider.
Yeah, it is narrow. So power button, then you've got your reset switch, 2 USB 2.0s, separate headset and microphone, then you've got a pair of, actually sorry I'm blinding you all with that aren't I? A pair of USB 3.0s or 3.2 Gen 1, and then you've got your lighting button there. And of course you've got the removable mesh on the top for putting in the radiator, fans, etc, etc. Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. I like it. It's different, and in a modern world where basically all cases seem to be the same, I think it's nice that someone will do something a little bit different.
It would cost more to run the fans and the motherboard and graphics card.
Let's take that off there. Take it off. That looks a bit cleaner now, doesn't it? I think taking that off the front does give you a much better idea of what it looks like with the film on the front. Well, I'm going to leave it on there because otherwise, when I do come to do the full review, it's going to be an absolute pain in the arse. Oh, that looks awful now, doesn't it? Oh dear. Right, so there we go. I'm going to pack this away now, and then we can address any questions that you may or may not have, or just talk about anything else in general. This is the kind of the wind down of our Saturday evening now, so get all your questions up together. If you've got any questions, do us a favour in the chat, stick a Q on the front, so either Kath or myself can find them easily. Because we're getting on a bit now. Well, you know what it's like, everything gets a little bit harder, and well, it's just, life's hard. Don't make it any harder for us. Oh, Jesus Christ. That is so heavy, that made my ears pop when I lifted it. Mike's Reboxing reviews and how to. Oh dear. Jesus, that is so heavy. Not surprising it's heavy though, there's basically a greenhouse. There you go, cats, you can have your home back now. Well, actually no, this isn't your home, is it? This one's going back underneath the table. Hopefully. Sorry, just carry on watching whatever. I will be with you as soon as I can. Actually, is Welly Bob in there? I haven't seen. Ah, right. Oh, I know what I meant to say. The good news. Well, I suppose it's good news, depending on who you ask. The transatlantic shipping appears to be working now. So we will be able to send out goodies. So those of you that we've promised t-shirts to, or you've ordered stuff, or in fact actually there was one lucky person, shame I haven't got my emails on my PC anymore because I took them off. Actually, no, I have got it on there. Oh, I can't bother with that. There was a stream we did ages ago where we had a keyboard, which is what's that keyboard up on above your desk on the American layout? Was it ATX or something? Yeah, Surefire, wasn't it? Casket.
Surefire.
Shit. So there was the Surefire Kingpin keyboard, and I said in the live stream, if anybody wants it, drop me an email, mike@mikesunboxing.com, and literally one person wanted it. So I think his name was Michael, I believe, from somewhere in America. I can't remember exactly where. I have got it saved on my emails. Kath's opening it up now. From some gun range or something. I seem to recall it being something about guns anyway. Yeah, whatever it was. Michael Hill. So very close to my own name. So Michael Hill, just so you know, well you do know anyway, but just so that you lot know in the chat, Michael is the official winner of that. And well, being he was the only one, so I didn't even have to do a draw. That was awesome, because normally going through doing a draw is a right pain in the arse. So didn't need to do a draw. So congratulations, Michael Hill. You have won the Surefire Kingpin keyboard in the American layout. And now officially it appears that Royal Mail have got the transatlantic shipping sorted. May take slightly longer than usual, but yeah, we'll be shipping out to you, well, early next week. Not sure whether we'll do it online and get them to collect it, because there's quite a few things now, there are t-shirts and that.
Yeah,
we'll walk. Okay.
Online is just too much hassle.
Yeah.
Let's just use your phone, use your computer, use your printer, log in.
Welly Bob says, I'm here, Michael. Welly Bob, your item will be sent out this week as well. I haven't forgot, well, I did kind of forget, but yeah, anyway, it will be sent out this week. So, right, let's catch up. Nick Barnes with a question.
My phone's just like...
Close it and open it again.
I have three times.
Turned off your internet and turned your internet back on again?
Yes.
You've broken it.
It works on here.
Okay.
But I can't do anything on my phone.
Alright. Windows 11 update to 22H2 a few days ago, but now on startup, desktop shows, but apps won't respond to mouse for a couple of minutes. Anyone else similar issues? There has been a lot of issues with recent updates, and I'm not too sure whether it's been in conjunction with the updates or whether or not it's because I've been messing around my PC, but I have found that there's been certain things, especially one of the updates has caused it so that when I'm in YouTube, if I move my mouse cursor over some certain text, it changes from a mouse cursor to, like in Word, like an upright kind of line, as if we're going to start typing, even if it's somewhere you can't type. So kind of like, well, where's my cursor gone? That was a weird thing. Yeah, I think the Windows updates in general can be a little bit on the flaky side. Yes, Gav?
O'Reilly asked what fans are in that Deep Space case, in case you wanted to add more.
The fans in the Deep Space case, I'm not sure. If I'm completely honest with you, they do look to be a proprietary type in their connectivity. So I think if you wanted more fans on that, you'd have to reach out to Ionz themselves, or pcgamingcases.co.uk to see what fans are available. So I'm not sure on that one. But yeah, Windows updates have been a bit weird recently.
William wants to know what is up with the strikes in the UK. Don't even know what's happening. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't watch the news, so we don't know. It doesn't affect us.
Hashtag William Bodie.
His parcel's been stuck in Germany since the 9th of Feb.
Ah, right. Yeah. It was not so much strikes, it's because Royal Mail, or Parcel Force, or that group in general, there was a global hack into their international shipping systems.
Apparently.
And they have been basically ransomed. So there's somewhere in the region of about 400 terabytes of data which has been stolen from their servers, and they want 63 or 65 million pounds to release it. And basically Royal Mail said, well, there's no amount of data which is worth that, so they've refused to pay it. So they're locked out of all the international systems effectively. So that's been almost a month now. They've apparently in the last couple of days have actually got it kind of pretty much online, and they appear to be doing kind of almost the normal level of deliveries, etc. So it should be okay now. So strike wise, there aren't any strikes in the UK other than the NHS. They're striking currently on a rolling basis. Well, it's on a rolling basis.
I thought they were giving it up because they were being talked to.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a 2-day strike this week, which then turned out to be a 1-day strike. It's, yeah. Inflation is causing everyone to be pissed off, and people want their wages to rise at the same rate as inflation, which only then increases and gives you super inflation. So inflation is one of those things that, unfortunately, for all of us, we just have to grin and bear it. And everything costs more, you have to pay more, you're not going to get paid more. If you get paid more, it becomes a ever increasing cycle of inflation, and we'll end up with interest rates in the double, if not, well, yeah, it's going to be bad. So striking for more money, regardless if you think you're worth it or whether people think you're worth it, is basically sealing your own doom. It genuinely is. You may feel hard done by, but it's just one of those things, unfortunately. Yeah. So, William Bodie says, okay, hashtag blame Dave for it. That works for me. Mark Point says, Chrome and YouTube are funny. If you don't update Chrome, YouTube acts up. Very much so. Mark Berry says, teachers on strike. That's on strike, 22nd of March. Now,
No, second.
Sorry, 2nd of March. Now, the teachers' strike, they are 100% sealing their own fate, because the government basically don't want teachers. They're way too much of a liability. They would much rather do remote learning. So they could do remote learning with one teacher to hundreds, if not thousands of pupils. So rather than having 50 to 60 teachers all across the UK, all teaching the same subject at the same time, on the same day, they could have one person doing that. Think of the amount of money the government would save by basically getting rid of pretty much all teachers.
And all the school buildings.
Yeah, and the school buildings, which they could sell off to make an absolute fortune of, because they're huge.
And
So if teachers want to strike, feel free. But in this digital era, when people work from home and can use Zoom and things like that, and home learning was a thing during COVID, if teachers want to lose their jobs and be replaced by AI or digital teaching, carry on, do what you're doing, and you will seal your own fate. Yes, you may be worth more money. I wouldn't want to be a teacher because most kids are absolute assholes. But if you strike, you will put the government in a position where they either have to reduce teachers or go to digital learning, which will probably happen sooner rather than later. And no doubt there's going to be someone like Tesla or Bill Gates or one of those big supremos which will turn around and say...
To indoctrinate, but they can indoctrinate...
Indoctrination can work on AI or over the internet. All it will take is for someone like Google or Microsoft to turn around and say, we will give
ChatGPT.
we'll give all the students a free notebook or laptop or iPad for their education, and then all of a sudden teachers are gone.
But then so is working parents' jobs, because they've got to be at home with their kids.
Dave Aiken says, I can take the blame for global inflation. Thank you, Dave, much appreciated. Mark Berry says we'll end up like Zimbabwe. Well, if we get some nice weather, I'm all for it. James Missionaire says, oh, that's the spirit, Mike, optimism. It's hard to be optimistic when there's so many people that just don't see the bigger picture. Everybody is just doing this cash grab and panicking because, oh, I can't afford my Sky TV or I can't afford my gigabit broadband. I need more money. No, you don't. You just need to not be living to your very means every single month. Rein it in and save money. Better still, go to Sainsbury's or Tesco or Co-op every night and buy cheap yellow ticket goods, like me and Kath do. Then we don't have to go to Google and say, Google, we want some inflation-rated pay increases, please. Which they'll tell us to go and take a flying off a pier. David O'Neill says, going on strike only proves to the boss they can do without you. There's an interesting story, actually. Mr. Elon Musk, his secretary, a couple of years back, demanded a pay increase. And he said, right, take 2 weeks off and I'll see how much value you are. After the 2 weeks, he said, I don't need you anymore. That is a lesson to a lot of people, I think.
Bit like Beyonce's now.
Blake Ancliffe says, wrong, wrong, wrong. Schools are all about prep for working life, and that doesn't come from home learning. I don't think I've ever known a school to prepare anybody for working life. School is an absolute walk in the park, and the shock to the system, even back in the 90s when I left school and went into the working environment, it was like, I left school,
Where are all my holidays?
went into the workplace and it's like, wow, I've got to work like
Long
hours, and I've got to do like work through the holidays, and I've got to do as I'm told, and there's a lot of people telling me to do things, and I can't just turn around and say, sorry, I haven't got my PE kit this week, I can't do PE. You go to work without the stuff you need, you get sacked. So I disagree 100%. School does not prepare you for the workplace at all.
Prepares you to get a good memory.
It gives you the exam results so you can get a job and then relearn everything you need to learn. Let's have a look. Freckle Puny says, the problem with remote teaching is that there will always be those kids that will be disadvantaged due to not having access to technology. Well, that's what I mean. Realistically, there are going to be some kids that don't have a tablet or a computer. I think that is getting to be a lot more rare. It's not 100%, and I'm sure there's going to be some children which live in very, very rural areas in the UK, especially where they may be limited on their internet connectivity. I think for the most part, especially inner city areas, they could close down schools tomorrow and it wouldn't be a big deal, which potentially they might do. They might close down.
The government and the schools, but not
If the
parents.
government had the ability, they would close down the inner city schools, sell them for a massive profit, save on teachers in those inner city areas where they pay more anyway, and
tablets compared to a teacher.
and just have a couple of rural schools which still exist for traditional learning. It could easily be done. Mark Point says, my son learned some good working skills when he had to do school from home, emails, video calls using MS Office. That's actually a good point, yeah. Mark Barry says, I think people need to wake up to what's going on. Enough said. Yeah. Chris Hartford says, strikes got us weekends off, maternity pay, sick leave, overtime, the list goes on, join a union. I think back in the day when unions were very much a working thing, most unions now are very, very weak and very, very controlled. We were members of a union, BEC2, which is the kind of like for TV people, etc. It was basically pointless. And they were so in bed with BBC, ITV and the government that it was basically pointless. But they still like to take a chunk of your money every month. Yeah, unionization is a good thing as long as the union is strong and isn't compromised, which, to be honest with you, most unions are, sadly. Where are we? I've lost loads of...
David Aiken says, remote learning will create.
I got it. Remote learning will generate generations of kids with zero social skills. I think that is a lot of them anyway now. Most of the young children that I meet in the workplace, out and about on the streets, especially when I'm in the shop on a weekend, most of the younger generation, I would say, exhibit less social skills than previous generations. I am stereotyping, and there's some that are there's one lad locally who always comes around, and bless him, he's got his mountain bike and he gives it such hell. And he comes into the shop and he's like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry to bother you. Would you mind if I borrowed your foot pump, or could you pump up my tyres for me, please?" He is an absolute golden child. He's excellent. He comes in, he's very polite, and he says all the things. "Excuse me, thank you, please." Waits his turn. If there's someone being served, he doesn't just kind of barge in and say, "Oh mate, got a pump." He's very polite, and he is a shining example of what the youngsters today should be like. But in general, a lot of them have got very, very few social skills.
And if you do homeschool, there is homeschooling groups where you...
Yeah, homeschooling groups are quite good for that sort of thing.
Mix with other children so they can mix, and they take it in turns to teach different subjects to each other's kids.
Actually says, but removing school will strip important opportunities for learning and how to mix with other people. But there's actually a lot of jobs where you don't mix with other people, unless it's via email or something. So the modern technology, which has allowed us to get away from the office or from those environments where you're working, even someone like there's data entry, you can do that from home. You don't need to be in an office with other people. And in fact, you probably get more done at home because you don't have the office distractions. So I don't know whether the social skills are as much as a requirement now that we do have remote learning and remote work.
Everyone needs that though.
Yeah, you need it in life, but you don't. It's not, having social skills is not an inherent thing that you need for a job. If you can operate a press, if you can gut a fish, if you can carry a box of potatoes, that doesn't require you to have social skills.
In school.
You don't. But if you went to a job like some of those like labour-intensive jobs, it doesn't matter if you're an absolute imbecile and have got the social skills of a slug. As long as you can physically move one thing to another place in a reasonable time, it doesn't matter. Evil Sailor says, wasn't the average price of an internet lesson on pay-as-you-go like £300? It might be. Yeah, there's obviously going to be some sections where it isn't going to work. Mark Berry says, I keep on telling my son I had to do paper rounds at 6 in the morning and a weekend job, and he thinks I'm joking. Yeah, I've done that. I've woken up on a Saturday morning to do a paper round with my next door neighbour. He had a paper round and I'd get up and help him with it. And yeah, some of us have had to do that.
Yeah, Mark's point is kids having phones that create social skills problems. And Dave Aiken says to be half decent at emails in a work environment, you need some level of social awareness. But how do you have that with autism?
Yeah, that's true.
And there's more and more kids being autistic.
And also, these days, actually, with things like Grammarly and Chat AI,
and also like
they don't need to have it because you've got automatic grammar correction and you've got AI to give you basically a perfect email every time. Freckle Puny says, in that case, Mike, basic broadband at the very least would have to be free if you wanted to guarantee every child to have access, just as your child will have to be within travelling distance. Yeah, I think this, I don't know whether it would be basic internet would be unlimited or would be free. Potentially it would be like a subsidised thing. So if you were of a family, obviously if your kid's doing internet work at home, you don't get the whole internet free for the family, because why should you have that privilege? But they would certainly maybe say, right, for every child which has to access the internet,
in your council tax or something,
get a rebate on it.
And then if you've got council tax credits, whatever.
I'm not. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying here that remote learning and all that is the way to go forward. I don't personally think it is. I think traditional old school things in a school is the better way of doing it. But
I can see this happening.
I can see that teachers are basically fucking themselves in the ass, trying to basically force the government to remove them from the equation, which they'll do. William Bowley says, Mike, look at Australia. Many did do school over, with a PC online. Yeah, Australia, because it's such a huge place, not everyone can travel that distance to a school. Yeah, back to Dave's thing, like reading the room and that and getting the tone of it is very important, but not for probably 80% of jobs. Labour workforce, stuff like that, it's not going to make any difference to them at all.
Blake says, I'm in the curtain and blind industry. Seamstresses are
I'm
a
not sure I
dying breed.
understand.
Oh, shut up. You need a bird laughing.
Yeah, I'll read it. Blake says, I'm in the curtain and blind industry. Seamstresses are a dying breed because they generally work from home and don't pass the skills on to the next generation.
When I went to school, I wanted to take sewing as an exam.
Yeah.
But there weren't enough people that wanted to do it, so they wouldn't let you. And I don't think it was even an option for our kids, was it? Or like for Angel.
Yeah.
George wouldn't have been interested.
Blake saying large shop workers had skills that were transferable. They could work out issues being with others. That's almost gone now. Yeah, the workplace environment is very different from what it used to be. Mookie says, how about this crazy weather we are having? Am I right? Weather is always nuts. I remember being in school in the mid 80s.
That storm.
Yeah, and I must have been in like an infant school, and we had like glass windows looking out onto the school playing field, and it was probably about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. It was just after lunch. We'd just gone back in after lunch playing football, and it was moderately sunny. The next thing, the whole sky is just basically black, and it's like, it's like winter. What's going? This is like middle of spring, I guess, early going into summer. It was a normal day, and it just all went black, and there wasn't a thunderstorm or anything. There was some rain, but it literally just went really black. So much so that even though it was like a summer's day, we had to turn all the lights on in the class because it was just so dark. It was really weird. Just these big black clouds from basically out of nowhere. So yeah, weather's been weird forever.
There was a thunderstorm and we looked out my mum and dad's bedroom window, and it's like really early in the morning. But we looked out and the road was like an actual river going down. But I've never seen it again since then. And do you remember that time in our old house when the whole road was just like sheet ice, but you didn't even know it until you tried to walk on it? Do you remember that?
Vaguely. Freedom House 94 says, my cousin got a high school diploma through remote learning, graduated without basic arithmetic skills or being able to read or write because my aunt is the one that did all her work. That was the 90s.
My mum did do all my English.
Excellent stuff. Stuart Cleary, €10. Mike, another donation because you are one of the few that stream on Saturday night for us boozers. Yeah, I could turn into a lightweight and be like Adamant IT and do it in the afternoon and then have the evening off. But no, I look after you lot. I don't know, I actually managed to fall into this. But
I can't thank anyone because my phone's not working.
Skystalker says, lack of social skills could have a huge factor deciding where you work, your social standing and your family life. Every parent wants to provide their children with every possible chance to succeed. Totally. Very much so.
It's not our opinion to
yeah,
go
this
schools.
is yeah. The closing of schools isn't our opinion, but I can see it happening because the government, like the NHS here in the UK, the government are desperate to close it down and sell it off. Absolutely desperate. They have been having a hard on for this for almost since its inception. So it isn't going to take a lot to break the back and say, right, okay, NHS is bankrupt. We've got no choice. We're going to have to privatise it, like they did with electricity, gas, the rail. Basically,
So really,
dentists. Yeah, the whole country has been privatised, and it won't take long until the NHS will be in exactly the same boat. Because if the nurses and all that want more money, if the money doesn't exist, they'll either leave and the NHS will fall apart, or they'll pay them and it'll bankrupt itself.
it's like this week I've had about 2 texts from the doctors asking me to go through a test, which I don't need because I'm healthy.
Rick H got $20 there, super chat. It says,
Thank
for
you,
you
Rick.
and Lady Kath to go to Co-op and stock up on goodies. Enjoy.
Thank you, Rick.
Rick, you know us far too well.
But they drum up business for themselves, but they've got a backlog, so why are they drumming up more business, is what I'm saying.
True. Really random review says, anyone noticed that the sunset seems redder than normal? Yeah, a couple of times we've noticed actually. I don't know whether it's just because I look at it more, because when we come out of the shop that we go to regularly, the sun sets on the allotments over the back of it, so you tend to notice it. But yeah, there is a very red tinge to it.
Although it's usually dark.
Calf Churchill, look at David Underhill text.
I can't look at anything, my phone is broken.
School of the Air used some ratings used by Flying Doctor Service. I still have my... Oh right, yeah, so you could do school via radio. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. You wouldn't get the same interaction. I suppose you would on ham radio, wouldn't you?
David Blake says Chat GPT will do everyone's work in the future.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, Chat GPT and all of those AI things will eventually end up at some point or other replacing pretty much everyone.
And we'll live in the metaverse.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Dennis says it's been 2 hours and 30 minutes since you started the stream. Although I got to take off a little bit from that because I did start late because I'm useless. David Underhill says, Blake and Cliff, I don't think ChatGPT can do a good enough bricklaying job. No, but if you get a robot and chuck ChatGPT at it and say, please build a brick wall approximately 6 foot high and 30 foot long and with a slight curvature to the southeast, probably going to be able to do it.
No, they can do steps.
Yeah.
Stairs.
So
they could do stairs for years.
ChatGPT and AI is basically going to take out programming. So it will be able to work out the code it needs to program its own robot to do the work you've asked it to. It's doing it already. You can ask it to create code to do certain tasks already, to automate web pages or to create certain programs to do things automated. So it's not really that far away. If you can get a robot, get Chat AI to interpret what you say into machine code to make it do its thing, it'll do it. Mark Barry says the NHS won't get 19%. No, of course they won't. Not going to happen.
But they've always got money when it's something they want to push. Unlimited funds for anything like that, haven't they?
Mark Point says, I'm an office worker, so for me, talking, typing, accounting, marketing, business, letter writing in high school prepared me just fine for sitting on my butt. Yeah.
Reckon our UK, most builders I've hired can't do that.
Yeah. Welly Bob says, don't have kids, no schools required. Yeah. Really Random View says, ChatGPT is fun to play with. I've been doing bits with it, asking to write songs, etc. Yeah, it is incredibly good. And it won't take long for it to be streamlined and perfected. Freedom House 1984 says, discussion is good. It's how we learn. Hopefully we do. Really Random View says the new bot arm can lay bricks 10 times the speed of man. Yeah, that is the thing as well. As soon as they manage to make an interface so that an employer or a designer or an architect can tell a robot what it wants to do in a reliable enough way, the robots are going to have it, because basically as long as they work and they're not broken down, they don't need tea breaks, they don't get hangovers, they don't turn up pissed or on drugs, they don't need holiday, and they can work 24/7 if need be, pretty much unattended as long as nothing goes wrong. So you could have maybe 1 or 2 engineers on site and just robots going around building stuff. It's the way of the future. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's the way that things will go. Much like in the army, they want to have like the super soldier, basically a robot which can do things like, yeah, Robocop type thing. That's kind of where things are going to go. Why put a human into dangerous areas when you can put a robot in there?
I think ChatGPT is available everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But it's on edge isn't it?
Nick Barnes, yes. I think it is, yeah. And in, yeah, Edge. Question, Bob mentioned on Discord the other day about using a jelly server. What is it for? This Jellyfin, and it's basically a version of Plex. So for streaming basically films, videos, etc. over a NAS or some kind of internet connection. Patrick LaBelle says they are now 3D printing concrete house. I've seen that actually, that's really impressive. Basically it's like a massive 3D printer which has got concrete in it, and it just goes along and does the actual frame of the house and everything. It's just fantastic to watch. Very mesmerizing, but they can kind of put a house together in hours rather than the usual days that it would take, or months. Mookie MC says ChatGPT can never replace ChatMub. I'd hope not.
It's got an opinion on you though, hasn't it?
It's true. Blake says something actually, yeah, this is exactly what happens. Nurses will leave the NHS, sign up with agencies, then get hired by the NHS for more money, and the agency takes a pay as well. That's been happening for since the 70s.
It's been happening in most places.
Yeah, CAF's Bank was the same. NatWest Bank used to do the same. They would get agency staff in that would be paid more money than the official bank staff.
So the bank
and
staff
also the agency were getting paid as well. So yeah, the bank staff would get pissed off and leave, go elsewhere, or come back to the same job as a temp.
So you'd have bank managers retired,
yeah,
come back and earn more than you still, plus their pension.
Blake says robots could do take a bricklayer's role, but not a stonemason's. It could take a joiner's job, but not a carpenter's. That is true. There are going to be always those which are.
But would people require that? Because
Yeah,
that's a nice thing, isn't
a
it?
stonemason. I can't
You
imagine
look at the buildings
there's
they
many
build, isn't it,
stonemasons.
compared to what
Yeah,
they used to do.
stonemasons these days. I think the only stonemasons I know in the relatively local area is down in Cheddar.
I
So
know
it's-
some people in Bristol.
Yeah, it's not really something that you'd look up a great deal. So there will be some people that still do it, but it's going to be a very, very niche market. Mark Berry says it's like a Terminator script. It's always these things. Technology is one of those things that technology is always advancing, and it could be for good reasons and it could be for nefarious reasons. Generally, for every advance in science, there'll be a pro and a con, and it's just whether or not the pro is going to outweigh the con. Not always that is the way. Some things advance and it's like, oh, this is so cool, but then it has terrifying side effects. Look at the guy who invented the idea of putting lead in petrol to stop engines pinking. Basically poisoned most of the planet, and the people that decided putting lead in paint was a good idea. It was a good idea at the time, but it turns out in hindsight it was absolutely disastrous. And no doubt there's many, many, many more, but we won't go there. Kath's telling me no.
I'm not telling you that, I know more than that. But you can't speak about
that. William Bodie says, can you show #DavidUnderhill how to enter Discord and use it here? I don't think I can.
Too many
We can put, yeah,
personal details, isn't there?
yeah, because there's loads of people in there which have their own individual names and information, so I can't really show that. I can put, Kath can post a link, I think, can't you?
I can post a link to Discord. He's on there, I think. He said as Grumpy something.
Ah, right.
But if you go in, we can help you. Even I can use it, so it's not difficult once you get used to it. It's just getting used to it, isn't it?
Yeah. A really random review says it's like Skynet playing out. Maybe Hollywood manifested it into existence. Yeah, a lot. It's weird actually. Things. Predictive programming is very much a thing. Like the old Star Trek. A lot of the old Star Trek stuff has kind of come to pass, like the Star Trek communicators. In the early 90s, the flip phone was about, which was basically Kirk's and Spock's communicators. So a lot of things do get their kind of influence, I guess, at some point from sci-fi movies and vice versa. Really random review says there will be a time in the future when they look back at our tools, cars, etc. and laugh at how we managed. Oh, definitely. You look at what we do now. If you look back at maybe a gramophone from the 1920s or 1930s, you'd be like, what? So the needle goes in the record and vibrates and makes a noise for a horn. So where's your speakers?
But then you look at buildings from years and years and years ago. We don't create anything beautiful like that now, do we?
No.
Or very rarely.
Citrus Cookie 700, how you doing? Welcome to our chat. It says, hi, as a fairly new PC builder, should I go for a 6500 XT or the Nvidia equivalent? As I have heard they are both good, but Nvidia is more expensive. I'm not sure if there is actually an Nvidia equivalent at the moment to the 6500 XT, is completely honest with you. The 6500 XT at the moment retails for somewhere around £150. So to get something from Nvidia at a similar price is going to be quite hard. So you'd be looking at probably something like the 1650 Super, if you're lucky, which might not even be as fast as the 6500 XT. Depends on what the rest of the system is. The 6500 XT is limited by its bandwidth and also its bus. So you do need to be on PCI Express Gen 4 for your processor and your motherboard to get anything out of it. You will also need to have resizable bar enabled as well. So yeah, it depends what you're going to be pairing it with. If you can squeeze a few more pounds and get a 6600, that would be a noticeably better purchase. David Underhill says AMD is the best for cheap GPUs. Yeah, the Nvidia market, there really isn't anything. The 3050 is pretty awful in terms of what you get for the money. And if you don't go with that, it's kind of like a 2060 or 1660 or 1650, which are all pretty old now, getting on a bit.
Victor, where is it gone?
Victor, I heard game mode hurts performance. Is that true?
Before he put enabling VSync to help my game stutter, thanks for that.
Oh, right, okay.
So if that helps.
Yeah, game mode, if you're talking about game mode in like an MSI BIOS, yeah, it's pretty useless. It basically just is almost overclocking the processor, whereas most processors these days, the way that motherboards will overclock them in that kind of automatic way is basically chucking a lot more voltage at it, which makes it run hotter, which is never ideal. So you probably don't want to do that if you can help it. I avoid precision boost overdrive and game mode are two things which I generally will try and avoid, just to try and keep temperatures down, and you get pretty much 99.5% of the performance, but for less thermal overhead, less noise and all that kind of stuff.
Your friend?
Your friend. My friend? Oh, you're a friend. Why does my PC keep power cycling after I resetted my CMOS battery? Could you help? If it's power cycling, I don't know. There's no reason why your PC would power cycle from resetting your CMOS battery.
Join Discord?
I would, yeah, join our Discord. Try and take the BIOS battery out altogether and turn it on then. If it still keeps on power cycling, it could be anything. It really could be anything. Citrus Cookie is using it for mostly modded Minecraft or sim games. I'm not sure if Minecraft is more...
Windows.
Yeah, Minecraft is more NVIDIA orientated or optimized, especially since they're tying with RTX. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I'm wrong, please feel free to tell me in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that Minecraft runs better on NVIDIA than it does on AMD. Excuse me. David Undrill says, I underclocked my GPU 10%. Now the GPU runs cooler than the CPU. No more 90 degrees Celsius. Good, good. Victor. I'm trying to see what Victor's thing was before.
It's about
Oh, I heard game mode hurts performance. Is that true? Oh, right, in Windows. Windows game mode. I don't know if it does. I think it's one of those things that swings and roundabouts, but it doesn't really make a big enough difference in either direction to be on or off. It just basically reduces some of the overheads of the system, but then there's some things, if you're using Discord or OBS or other things in the background, then you don't want those being kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hibernated or something. So game mode is probably going to cause more problems than it's going to fix, I think, personally. PC2022 says, I'm late, but I'm here. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Blake's saying, Minecraft can run on a potato, to be fair. Kids started out on old Dell Office PC until I bought them decent systems. Yeah, it does scale. Minecraft scales massively from basically potato level up to RTX 4090, where you can really increase the visuals. Avengi says, still waiting for the RX 7600 XT or the non-XT one. My 67 XT is getting harder and harder on newer games to get 165 on ultra-wide 1440p on max settings. Ultra-wide 1440p on max settings is basically 4K. Because of you got the extra stretch, whereas you would have the height on 4K. I'm pretty sure, yeah, because ultra wide 1440p is what, 3840 by 1440p, whereas 4K is what, 3840 by 2160. So it's kind of not a million miles off of being 4K. Mookie MC says, Mike, when was the last time you owned a desktop style PC case rather than a tower, and have you ever owned a all-in-one PC? I have owned an all-in-one PC very briefly. Didn't like it a great deal. I picked it up very cheap and basically sold it on for a loss, I think. I do like the principle of an all-in-one PC, and I like the principles of ATX PCs as well, but there are always some kind of, there's always a compromise to be made. The best all-in-one PC I ever had was basically it was a 32-inch TV LCD, and you could take the back of it off, and it had like all the slots for a micro ATX motherboard, power supply, graphics card, etc. And I bought that from eBuyer one Christmas, and it was about, I think it was either 150 or 200 pounds for a 32-inch LCD TV, which was 1080p, and it came with a power supply to basically run a micro ATX PC. All you had to do is put in your micro ATX thing and a cooler. It was excellent. But it got to the point, it was around the era when the 5770 was out, graphics card wise, and I think it was Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, so it must have been about 2010, maybe slightly before that. And yeah, the technology wasn't quite there. It was really good. It even had a built-in remote control for Windows Media Center. I was really looking forward to it. I was stoked to use it, but it just, yeah, it was really buggy, very unreliable, so I ended up ditching it and sending it back. But that would have been perfect. Rick H says, you get more likes when you rant. Thank you. what was I going to say? Oh, the last time I owned a desktop style PC, that would have been when we lived at your mum's, wasn't it?
But where you had the monitor on top of the box.
Yeah, I had a desktop PC. On top of that, I had the Crystal Xbox. Yeah, Crystal Xbox, the original Xbox. On top of that was then a Virgin Media TV box.
And
on top of that was our wireless router.
And next to it was the TV with built-in VCR.
Yeah, next to it was a 14-inch TV with a built-in video underneath it. So yeah, that was how long ago that was. That must have been
2004.
2003, 2004. Yeah, I haven't had a desktop style case since then.
And then we had our real computer on the other side. That was just to watch TV on.
Yeah, that was our media center box.
And then we had a real PC on the other side of the room on an IKEA tea trolley.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, it was a computer desk, but it looked like a tea trolley. With the sunbed next to that.
PC 2022 recently reinstalled AC Odyssey and New Vegas Fallout, and I'm seeing stutters. 5600X with a 3080 10 gig. Do you think drivers or poorly optimized game? Depends what the stutters are like. If you are running at a particularly high refresh rate, you might see it's some sort of system thing. If you turn on VSync, that will generally do it. There's new NVIDIA drivers come out today or yesterday, and there's also new AMD chipset drivers which seem to be pretty decent as well. So it might be worth checking those out. Really Random Review says Hot Pursuit. Wow, awesome game. I installed it on my Xbox One recently as it's free on Game Pass. Yeah, the original Hot Pursuit, or it was Hot Pursuit, I'm sure it was 2005, 2006. I think personally it's probably the best version they've ever done of it.
But when it came out, what was that, the one with the police car?
Yeah.
No, it must have been before 2004.
No, they had Hot Pursuit 1, Hot Pursuit 2, then they did a remake which was Hot Pursuit, which was the one they've recently re-released, like the 4K update very recently. Really Random Reviews, was it called Xbox Ice? No, it was the Xbox Crystal. And basically it was completely see-through. That was what it was called. It was a proper version of the Xbox sold by Microsoft, but they called it the Crystal version.
And even the controllers were clear, weren't they?
I'm not sure, they might have been, yeah.
I think they were. But you could actually get really good games on that.
Rick says, we all need to let go of things in our lives that have wound us all up. We do, but also not to be too acquiescent. Don't let them walk all over you. Yes, you shouldn't get wound up by things, but there is also some time where you should stand and fight.
Forgive but not forget.
Yeah. Really Random Review says, I sat up many nights, real early hours, police chases, doing all the missions, sun down, sun up, still going. Yeah, I was trying to get gold on every single level, and I think I got gold on all of them apart from probably 3 or 4, where I could only get silvers or maybe the odd bronze. I might have to do it again, but it's one of those things. I used to have a lot more time back then.
SpongeBob SquarePants on the Xbox was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah. Slemzy says, is the RX 5700 XT still worth it in 2023? Well, it depends what it's worth. I wouldn't buy a brand new one, but if you can get a used one for like 200 quid or something, then yeah, it's a cracking card and it still does 1440p really easily. Although it is getting on a bit and they were prone for getting very hot. So if you do buy a used one, make sure that hotspot temps are pretty good, not too hot. Aletta says, I stand, I fight, I spend a few nights in jail. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that coming up soon, I think. If the inflation thing and the cost of living and all that kind of nonsense carries on, it's going to get to a point where even the most kind of placid of people are going to start getting really arsey. And it only takes a certain point, and then there's a tipping point where the general consensus is, all right, we'll go along, and then it will get to a point where something will break, and people will just be like, right, we've had enough of this shit. And there's a lot more of us than there is of them. Right, I think that is pretty much it. I think I've said as much as I can say, and looks like half of you have gone to sleep. Not surprising. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap things up. I think I've enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully you've enjoyed taking a look at those Ionz cases. Don't forget, if you want to check them out, links are in the video description. The Amazon ones we do get affiliate commission on, in complete transparency. The other ones for pcgamingcases.co.uk, we're not affiliates or anything, so if you buy stuff from them, excellent. Help support the people that help support us, but don't feel like you have to buy it for them because you're helping us in any direct way. So yeah, don't worry about that at all. If you've got any more questions about the Ionz cases, please feel free to reach out. Email address is at the bottom, and then it might actually, is it still, yep, it is still there, just checking. And I'm glad the stream is still working and the mic seems to be working. We've done well.
My phone didn't work though. I think
James, sorry, says, oh, read my PSA to 4080 buyers. Where is it? NVIDIA makes products with planned obsolescence in mind. They are very, very calculating. Yes, they are, definitely. I want a 7090 XTX, but they need to fix the power draw on multi-monitor and video playback, or it's a no-go. All those suckers buying 4080s, 4080 Ti might have 20 gigs of RAM, more staying power. Oh yes. Right. I think that is going to wrap things up. Like I said, thank you all for your contributions in your comments, which have been awesome. Nice. Oh, Kath's phone's working now, amazing. Bit late, but never mind.
Turn it on and off again.
Stuart Cleary says, you are a smart man, Mike. I don't think I'm a smart man, I've just been alive long enough and had my ears and eyes open long enough to see that there's a lot of things going on in the world, and you kind of have to try and keep
Step
your...
away from the phone and tag.
Yeah, you have to keep your finger on the pulse a little bit and see what the real deal is, and realise that the world is a very, very big picture. And it isn't just a certain demographic, it's basically all of us. We're all in this together, so we should try and get along, at least a little bit. We may not like each other, but we should all tolerate each other. So I think is basically the takeaway for tonight's stream. You may not like Ionz cases, but you certainly should be able to tolerate them. Especially how cheap they are. Oh dear, I'm cracking myself up. I'm tired and delirious now. So, thank you all for watching. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. And I've got the wrong buttons on my Stream Deck. See, main, overhead, desktop, chat break, webcam. I don't want that, I want end stream, which is this one in the middle. So I'm going to end stream. See you next week. Cheers.